Well, we're off to a brand new venue for the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup All-Stars, and it's a venue that I've never raced at. Circuit Magny-Cours here in France for round number 2 of the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup. I'm delighted to have you all along here. It is Paul Smith and Arjuna Kankapati once again with you, and well, it was an interesting first round last time out, wasn't it, Arjuna, with the All-Stars, but we got to have some fun with them as well, and we get to do it all over again.
It always builds some excitement, and we get to go to a track, like you said, that we've never raced at before. So lots of unknowns, not just for the drivers in the Super Cup, but for the All-Stars as well. Released relatively new to iRacing as well, so excited to see what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. This track is a challenging track, of course, used to host many a Grand Prix and other series as well. No stranger to Porsches taking part around this venue. So, yeah, we'll get to see how the drivers are getting on in qualifying shortly. But first, we'll just get on through to looking at the track because, of course, as you say, these drivers, they haven't had much time to be able to go through this venue. It is a 4.4 kilometre circuit and one that can produce some challenges for them.
Yeah, it's very different to the original layout of the track when it was originally back in 1960 opened. Sweeping, technical, and you'll note heavy hairpins at various places. It starts with a run down through turn 1, then through turn 3 a long right-hand sweeper named after Estoril. You've got the hard hairpin named after Adelaide, a chicane named after the Nürburgring, and then a chicane named after the Imola. This track pays homage to so many great racetracks. It should be a technical challenge for drivers to hold on through the races here today.
It certainly will be a challenge for those drivers, and one that they will have to be careful of, because one of the subjects that I know that we'll be touching on for a few of the drivers, especially during qualifying, will be those track limits. Some places around here a little bit, how shall we say it, a little bit easier on track limits compared to some of the other venues, as there you see some of our competitors in the All-Stars here. Great to have them along, and you will see the face in the middle of that screen, Lauren Heinrich. Great to have Lauren along for today, along with also another guest driver as well. But Jardier, I mean, he was the happiest man out of last time at Hockenheim. He's currently, well, he's not feeling the best, is he?
No, poor guy, but he's going to soldier on, still has, you know, the smile on his face, sits third in our unofficial championship standings that we'll continue to keep an eye on. There are some prizes to be won as well, so that's always interesting to see. Casey Curran sitting top of those, by the way, after winning in race number 1 and then being able to climb his way up to 4th in the second of our races. Tony Kanaan, who we take a look on board with, runs in 2nd, although somewhat disappointingly, we don't seem to have Quirk sitting behind TK racing together here today.
Yeah, he's on his own there. There's Emily Jones. Emery, great to see her back behind the wheel of the car, and well, she's in there in 3rd place in qualifying as things stand at the moment, but qualifying will be coming to an end momentarily, so we will be able to get you your starting grid. Of course, the top 5 for the series do get themselves a Tag Heuer connected watch, and well, it's the front row of Lauren Heinrich, Porsche factory driver Lauren Heinrich, and Casey Kerwin with Emery and Borja Zaz on row 2, IQ360 and Quirk on row number 3. 4th row of the grid is Base Collie and Dan Suzuki, with Love 46 and Kenny 500, Dave Cam and Tony Kanaan. Final couple of drivers, Lauren Van Tor, there's the other of our Porsche factory drivers taking part today, Jardier and Stradi making up his solo row of the grid, should I say. Let's have a look at how things go here in the All-Stars. So we get a 17-minute sprint race, and then for the main race, the whole grid, the results of the whole grid, for the results of the sprint race get inverted for the grid of the feature race, the main race, which is 27 minutes long. We have got standing starts, and there's unlimited fast repairs for these drivers to encourage them to do carry on going here. But Arjuna, we're just a few seconds away. What are we expecting? A bit of chaos, a bit of carnage?
It's a short run down into that first left-hand sweeper, and from there, the right-hander that will lead us to the hairpin.
So drivers waiting, looking to the starting gantry then for the sprint race here in the All-Stars. Green flag, away we go for 17 minutes of action. It's a good start from Lauren Heinrich. What a launch, but what a launch from Emery. Second row of the grid, up to second place. Casey Kerwin not having a good time of it. Through turn 2 and 3 they go. The long sweeping right-hander at Estoril running out wide on corner exit. Down the back stretch now towards Adelaide for the first time, and this is basically the favourite overtaking opportunity around this venue. It's a very, very tight hairpin. Onto the brakes they go, and pretty much, well, the front two missed their apex, and Casey Kerwin's going to come back at Emily Jones. Meanwhile, further down, we've got some movement going on. Dave Cam is in 12th at the moment as they're coming through into the Nürburgring chicane for the first time. And still, Casey Kerwin, though, back into second place. Lauren Heinrich is trying to run away at the front in the early going. Borja Zazo now giving it a go because Casey Kerwin's dropped down a place again.
He made a small mistake. Emily Jones didn't need a second invitation to slot her way on through, and all the while the gap builds, and Casey Kerwin may even have a slowdown penalty because he's dropped behind now. Borja Zazo has clawed on to fourth, being able to block Dan Suzuki's charge, but through the opening stanza of this race, already 1.2 seconds clear, Lauren Heinrich breaks away.
Yeah, Jardier then we're looking at right now, going through the right-hander towards the end of the lap. It's a tricky final sector here, a couple of tight corners coming to this tight right-hander. You can make some moves. Driver's going a bit deep into there, but through the final chicane, and this is going to catch out so many people through that final chicane. Across the line there goes. So it is Heinrich from Emery, Borja Zazo third, with Casey Kerwin fourth. Dan Suzuki holding on to fifth place ahead of last year's champion, Quirk, in sixth place. Hikey 360 is just ahead of Basic Ollie with Jardier that we're keeping an eye on. And then Love 46 rounds out your top 10. But here we are, Borja Zazo then, usually the most dapper of drivers in all of sim racing, currently holding on to third place, and well, the front two are just getting a little bit of a breakaway there.
Yeah, just slightly. Casey Kerwin, of course, coming off a third place finish in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series season opener at Daytona, was running first out of turn 4 at Daytona, which is never where you want to be. Unfortunately, got a hefty shunt from behind. Tucker Minter ended up taking his first victory, but Casey Kerwin gets back up to third as we chat now with Dave Campbell.
We certainly do. So Dave, how are you finding it? Early goings here. It's quite a tight and twisty circuit in parts, but you're in the middle of that pack.
Yeah, a little bit congested. Difficult to start always, especially when there's no grip at all, and everybody, as we just understeer there. Oh, sorry, lock the brakes up, sorry. Yeah, there's no grip on the first few laps at all. It's really congested. Everybody's super quick. I'm getting harassed by Kenny 500. He's on a mission, so we just need to keep an eye on him as well as try and move forward somehow.
And just how much does this hinder you, having us distracting you whilst you're driving along? Because Kenny is putting the pressure on.
Not a lot, Paul. I mean, I love the sound of your voice, so it's kind of soothing, to be honest.
Okay, well, we'll let you get on with that, Dave, and all the best for the rest of the race.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think that's about the first time somebody's actually been complimentary about my voice, but yeah. So Borja Zazo, then, as we see, third place on screen right now. He's actually lost that place to Casey Kerwin. Dan Suzuki right behind then for the time being for Borja. So Borja's seeming to be a little bit of a bottleneck at the moment here in that front group.
Yeah, good to chat with Dave, by the way. He spent the day driving some Porsches earlier today, based on some social media, so good that he got some drive time behind the wheel of a real Porsche and then got to come and race some virtual Porsches here in our Porsche All-Star Series. Just a little bit of fun. Now that Casey's broken away, yeah, you're right, Borja very much proving to be the bottleneck. Casey starting to try and close onto the back of Emery, but of them all, Lauren Heinrich still fastest, although he hasn't actually clocked in a lap time that is valid yet, Paul, because lap number 2, he may also have potentially just pushed the limits of the track just that little bit more.
Well, we'll go on board with our race leader, Lauren Heinrich, and give you a little bit of the sights and sounds of this race with a Buzz sound lap. So that was a little bit of the sights and sounds of what's going on here in this race from our race leader, Lauren Heinrich. But right now, Dan Suzuki is in a bit of a group here, Arjuna, because he's got Bolgezazo in front and Quirk behind. He's got to have eyes both forward and backwards here.
Yeah, this is a fun little fight that we've got going on as well. Remember, a couple of these drivers have come to blows at the Hockenheim Ring, but so far we managed to complete 4 laps of the race so far without too much issues. 10 minutes still left to go of this race. Of course, after this, just one more race in this car as well before we'll switch gears and move things over. But an opportunity, I think, brewing into the hairpin. Quirk switches back to the outside. Difficult to get it done. Suzuki will try and box Quirk all the way to the outside.
Oh, if Quirk could have just stayed alongside, then he could have compromised Suzuki's exit there, gotten the power a little bit early. But you can see Quirk is all over the back there, really putting the pressure on. But so far, not able to get ahead there for the time being. Just one driver has had an issue out there, and that's Tony Kanaan, unfortunately. Had to take a trip down pit road, so that's why he's all the way at the back. And, the problem for him, of course, the benefit for him, of course, is with the full reverse grid, he will move forward. But Arjuna, we've got our race leader at the moment.
Yeah, Lauren Heinrich, Porsche factory driver. Now, Lauren, first question I'm going to ask you is, you have so much experience in this car in particular, in variations that both have the traction control ABS active and not active. What's the difference, in your opinion, having those cars those aids enabled in this car?
Yeah, exactly. So I drove the 992 Cup already with ABS traction control and without, and I drove in America. The tracks, they are really bumpy. They drove with ABS, so that's really where it helps over the bumps. And we also had traction control in Dubai in the 24-hour, and obviously when you have a endurance race with a lot of tire wear, it helps a lot to have a traction control to just manage the rear tires.
You, of course, have owed a lot of your success in the real world to the virtual world, where 2 years being unable to compete in the real world led you to the virtual world. What's it like now being able to come back and join us, not just for this sort of things, but to compete alongside some of your teammates at Coanda eSports as well? It must be nice to be able to just pop back and have some fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about fun, but to be honest, I would love to do more of it, but yeah, my schedule doesn't allow as much anymore. Luckily, because as you said, I had 2 years break from real racing, so I did quite a lot of sim racing, where I also learned a lot for the real world. Right now I'm more focusing on real racing, as you said, but I would love to do more and more sim racing because races like these are so much fun to me, and also racing for Coanda on the highest level there is in sim racing just also helps me to stay sharp for the real world.
I've got to ask, in the 2 years that you had off, what were the main things that you were able to then carry forward back in 2019 when you got the opportunity to jump back into a car?
I think most of it is about the mindset, to be honest, because when you're not in a real car for 2 years and you're only doing sim racing, let's say, it just gives you a mindset that, you just have to use the chance once you're back in a real car. And also, I did a lot of endurance racing back then for Williams eSports, and I think the endurance races, just the racecraft, racing with many other cars around you in other classes, helps you to just be aware of your surrounding in the real world, which is really important, especially when you're racing in the night or in the rain.
Well, Porsche Junior, now Porsche factory driver, thanks for letting us bug you during this race. You've still been able to build your advantage at the front, but you've got Katie Curran chasing you down. Thanks for joining us, Lauren.
Thank you.
Great little chat there, Paul, with someone who's got plenty of experience in this virtual world at the very top level. But now we did see that battle between Katie Curran and Emery. Kerwin up to second.
Yeah, done a good job to get ahead of Emery in that one. And so Casey, as you say, trying to hunt down, but with just under 6 minutes remaining, to catch up 4 seconds will take a lot, especially with the driver of the caliber of Lauren Heinrich. So definitely going to be interested to see if Casey can do that and move forward in that one. So definitely as we go through. But Emily, I mean, what on earth happened there? You were second place and you've lost it to Casey there.
I just not enough speed from the steering wheel attendant, I think, is my problem.
So what you're saying is a problem between wheel and pedals, roger that. But, you know, Magny-Cours, it's a track that we've not been to here in either the All-Stars or in PESC. How are you finding this 992 around here?
Yeah, this track's awesome. Honestly, like, I was waiting for this track to come to iRacing for ages. And yeah, it's like, I don't know, I'm sad this place doesn't hold F1 anymore. I think it's a really cool track. It's difficult to pass. I mean, Casey made it work, but like, I think it's just a really flowy track to drive. Yeah, it's good.
And of course, you've been flying around the world the last couple of weeks. Have you got over the jet lag yet?
Sorry, yes, it is 5 in the morning though, so I'm struggling a bit. Some mornings you wake up and you feel like terrible. Today was one of those mornings. I was like, why am I awake? But it's good. I haven't killed basic Ollie this week, so I'm going better than last week, so that's good.
Hey, always about the positives from me. But Emily, we'll let you get back to it. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
There we go then. That's driver in third place, Emily Jones. But, well, we've got a queue of cars forming because Quirk has managed to get past Borja Zazo. Dan Suzuki, well, he's stuck behind Borja for the time being.
It's a difficult track to pass at, and just to comment, by the way, Emily Jones didn't need to kill basic Ollie. Unfortunately, he spun himself at the hairpin. He's down in the 12th position, but we jump on board with Suzuki as he rides his way towards the final sequence of corners. And you'll just get the sense of how tight this track can really be through this final chicane. You'll get onto the brakes at about 150 meters, got a sausage curb to watch on the inside before you really sweep out to the left and try and maximize it. But a chicane here with equally vicious curbs to greet you, and so it's one of these tracks where, as much as you want to try and then set up an opportunity down into turn number 1, it's so difficult to do so. And even when we get to the Supercup pool, we're going to see drivers struggling to set up opportunities.
Yeah, you can see that queue of traffic there and different lines that you can take there through turn 3 and then onto the exit on through 4. And you see that race for 6th then. Well, it's almost a race for 5th as well, with Borja just at the front of this queue as well. Lawrence Van Tor, I think he's struggling a little bit here in this opening race, down in 14th. But I'm sure we'll see him do a little bit better with a bit more experience in the second race. He's not a stranger to doing sim racing and doing part of this, so definitely good to see Lawrence taking part in this race. But Heike 360, Xavier Sanchez, wow. I remember last season him winning at Barcelona in the main race of the All-Stars, and the passion and the joy that he had from that win. It certainly was one of the most passionate responses we've seen to a race win here in PESC.
Absolutely, and he's always someone up for a fight no matter what car you throw him in as well. I think that's one of the things that really impresses me about some of these guys is their adaptability across the different cars that we've got, but it's behind him really that there's a little bit more tussling. Not a great run, and it's given an opportunity for Kenny 500 to slip it down the inside of Love 46, but an opportunity maybe now as well as they work their way out for Strati to get a run, but he's not really going to look for it for now.
No, but it was a great run from Love 46 then, out of the chicane, not able to get alongside into turns 1 and 2. And really it's single file all the way through here, and you'll see the different lines being taken. One, because different drivers prefer that as part of their driving style, but two, just to try and get a little bit of clean air over the front aero of this car. It's not a massive effect, but it does have an effect through those long radius corners, and so drivers will be looking for a little bit of clean air and a little bit of a touch there, a little kiss, just to say, I am here, you know, and I want that place back.
Yeah, it's just so easy to funnel through that hairpin and have moments like that. Remember, we've only got 15 cars in our field here today. We're going to have double that later on. So just keep in mind how congested it can truly get. Just the small little pack of cars, a mistake as they work through that 180-degree left-hand corner. Kenny 500 holds on for now. Otarevskovskaya will try and potentially have a move through the Imola chicane, named, of course, based on its semblance to the corner at Imola, but it funnels in, still manages to put the pressure on, and Kenny 500 somehow holds onto his car.
Made the mistake though through the final chicane, and well, it's going to be the white flag. So the start of the final lap then for Lauren Heinrich, your race leader, as the clock strikes 0. These fights then, these races for position, are going to have one more lap, one more opportunity to sort themselves out on board with Straddy then through the final chicane, down the start and finish straight. Basic Ollie in front, new paint job for this week, so was able to get the car down to the virtual paint shop and to get those lovely blue and yellow liveries applied to it. And this is the trouble with this corner. Basic Ollie runs wide, and Straddy says, "Thank you very much. That's a nice freebie."
Showcasing just how easy it can be to underestimate that corner. Now into the hairpin, final opportunity for some moves to be made. Ducking and diving they go, side by side for a couple of drivers. It's Dave Cam that will try and hold off Straddy, but he gets a wonderful run off the corner, but somehow Dave gets it pointed and turned and back onto the power in time to hold on to 11th.
Yeah, Love 46 and Kenny 500 have been busy scrapping amongst themselves as well, just in front of this group that we've been watching. There you see, they're still at it going into 180. Through those final few corners of this lap then, and still these drivers not satisfied with the position that they're in right now. But we're getting ready for the checkered flag, and it's one driver who's been out at the front from the very start of this sprint race, and it's Lauren Heinrich, the Porsche factory driver, who takes the win here in the sprint race of the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports All-Stars. Second place to Casey Cohen, with Emery rounding out the top 3. Rest of them coming through. The question is, Jardier, Heike 360, they're going to be neck and neck across the line. Love 46 just able to see off Kenny 500. Across the line, there's smoke, there's a car out of control, but it doesn't matter. That's where the finish line is. Dave Cam, he's happy with that. He's got that 11th place. We'll take you through your provisional results then. It is Lauren Heinrich who takes the win here by 3.2 seconds over Casey Cohen. Emily Jones for Emery in 3rd place, with Quirk, Borjazazo, Dan Suzuki, Jardier, Heike 360, Love 46, and Kenny 500 rounding out your top 10. Dave Cam, Basic Ollie, Straddy, Lawrence Van Tor, and Tony Kanaan will be the driver who starts in pole position for the main race. 27 minutes of action. It simmered along nicely, did that one, but drivers started to want to get some extra places, didn't they?
No, absolutely. And for Tony Kanaan, he had to come down to pit lane after, I think, lap number 1. So he had to ride by himself for the majority of the 17 minutes, and now an opportunity to run at the front at a difficult track to pass. We saw how willing TK was to fight last time out 2 weeks ago. I have no doubt that he'll be looking to put the blockers on as we work lap number 1 here.
Yeah, certainly. So the drivers will just get themselves a few minutes to get themselves prepared for this feature race. But, well, you want to stick around until the end of this main race here in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports All-Stars, because we're going to be revealing where we will be going next time out in this series and which track was voted by you, the audience, for these drivers to compete in. And, well, I've had a sneak preview. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it was an interesting 3 choices that they all had. Let's take a look at where we're racing here today one more time. Magny-Cours, we've already seen 17 minutes. The run out of turn number 1 leads you down to the left-hander of turn 1, but then it's that right-hand sweeper that caught out at least one driver in the course of our first race. A long blast into a heavy braking zone at the hairpin, the main passing opportunity before a tight and twisty infield, a short blast through the final sector, and a fast, tricky chicane to bring you to the line.
Well, don't forget, if you do want to keep up to date with everything going on here in this series, then do head on over to iRacing.com/PESC, and you'll get details of the schedule, the standings, and also how to become a driver as well. But here's your grid then for the main race. It is Tony Kanaan and Lawrence Van Tor on the front row of the grid. Straddy and Basic Ollie row 2 with Dave Cam and Kenny 500, row number 3. Row 4 for Love 46 with Heike 360, Yadier and Dan Suzuki on row number 5. In the 6th row is Porsche Zazo and Quirk. 7th row is Emily Jones with Casey Kerwin, and Lauren Heinrich has got the hard work to do all the way from the back of the grid. We're just waiting on one driver to get themselves to the grid, and then we'll be all set for the main race here in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports All-Stars. Pleasure to have you all along here for this event. And, well, if you're liking what you're seeing and you're thinking, do you know what, I'd like to try out iRacing, currently, for new members, there is 40% off membership right now. So do head on over to iRacing.com today and do start your iRacing career, because remember that every day is a race day here on iRacing. The drivers getting themselves set very, very briefly now, Juna. Can Lauren Heinrich make it through all the way from the back?
I think he's got an interesting chance. I think it's going to be difficult to break away in the same ways unless we get a chaotic blast out of turn number 3. I'm also curious to see what Lauren Vanthor is going to do starting at the very front of the field. A driver, of course, that has done a lot in a GT3 machine, but in 2023 is going to get his chance in a Porsche 993 Porsche prototype. Very excited about that as we take a look at the field, ready to go.
Yeah, all the drivers getting set for the start of this race. Engine revs will rise. We look to the starter's gantry. Patiently holding. Green flag. Away we go. And Lawrence Vantor is left absolutely standing at the start there from second place on the grid. That allows Straddy, Basically, Dave Cam, Love 46 all to go through into the first few corners we go. And it's a whole pack of cars going around there. And, well, we've got a car off in the background of shot there. I believe that's Dave Cam, who's had issues. There's more issues. I believe that was Lauren Heinrich. It is! My goodness! So the chance of getting a double here is possibly thrown away. Down into the hairpin for the first time in this sprint, in this feature race. And, oh, my goodness, another spin. Oh, Lawrence Vantor, he's having an absolute nightmare out there.
Yeah, and the problem is these cars are so difficult to start. Lawrence Vanthor, someone who's so used to rolling starts in endurance racing, that this is so different for him. That hairpin can catch you out on cold tires as well. We'll get a look at what happened to Lauren Heinrich. He's 20 seconds off of your leader. No chance for that. We also saw incidents that involved the Love 46 car. I think that was related to what happened with Dave Cam. It's Tony Kanaan, though, that takes advantage. 1.5 seconds clear at the front of the field.
Yeah, absolutely. He's trying to take advantage of this opportunity now. Basically, and Straddy, the best thing that they can do right now is work together and try to run down Tony Kanaan here, because if they start fighting each other, they'll just allow Tony to pull away even more here in the early going. But Kenny 500, Jardier, Dan Suzuki, Casey Kerwin. Casey Kerwin's already up 7 places in this race. Tremendous start from Casey. He's in fact up to 8 places now because he's in 6th place here. But here's a replay. This is what happened, first of all, to Dave Cam. Down into, oh, and there's contact. So that's what happened with Dave Cam. Well, as we carry on through, there's Lauren Heinrich, and it was a loss the back end there for Quirk. And Heinrich just happened to be the car in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, just racing incidents in both cases. Dave going a bit too aggressively definitely would take a incident responsibility in that case. But remember, these drivers are fighting for some Tag Heuer watches, so there's something to be said for our championship standings as we ride on board from that roof cam with Quirk, as Emery and Porsche Zazo did battle. Tony Kanaan in that Texaco Racing liveried car that runs at the front of the field. He'll be hoping that his driver Gustavo Ariel can do this very same later on in the Supercup.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a shame, of course, that I can't compete in the All-Stars here because I'm a bit busy commentating this race, because I wouldn't mind getting my hands on one of those Tag Heuer connected watches, that is for sure. But oh well, I'll have to go out and buy one just like everybody else. But these drivers right now, they've got the opportunity at the end of the season to win themselves that. But Tony Kanaan, you can see at the wheel, sawing away at the wheel through some of these corners. But you can see that concentration there. That's the pro race driver that we know right there. Tony Kanaan, he was just focused.
Yeah, and remember 2 weeks ago, Quirk and TK were racing from the same room. They did the same thing later, just a week later rather, for the iRacing Bathurst 12 hours. So a lot of fun they've been having together. We check in with Kenny 500, had an interesting race number 1, now running up in 4th and resuming hostilities with Strati as they work their way through turn number 3. This still within touching distance of your race leader because Tony Kanaan has not been able to break away to the same degree as we saw from Lauren Heinrich earlier. Casey Curran still lurking, still in 6th, but he's got Jardier to deal with next. We'll see how much that 39 Veloce machine really wants to put up a fight.
Yeah, we will, as down towards the hairpin we go. Once again, you can see the lock that they have to put in there from Strati behind the wheel. The lock they have to put in through the Adelaide hairpin, and it really is a tricky corner to get absolutely right lap after lap. Casey Kerwin, you asked about how much of a challenge was going to be put up by Jardier. Not much. He's already ahead of him, up to 5th place now is Casey. So that's 9 places gained in this race so far. So the man with arguably the best hair in all of sim racing, well, he is, again, real focus on his face there, and he's really trying to push forward. He wants to get a win here.
Best hair in all of sim racing. That's a bold title, but yeah, I was thinking, producer Drew in my ear shouts out Colin Bowden. There's also some spectacular facial hair, specifically amongst some of our drivers within the Supercup community. I'll shout out Iku Merakala amongst that, just a big bushy Finnish beard. Lots of the Finnish community have that as well. Casey Curran continuing that charge through. You mentioned it earlier, Paul, how remarkable it is. He's up 9 positions from the back, and someone that already coming into this race had a championship advantage of 14 points. Remember, the maximum you can get from winning a race is 25 points. Casey is looking mighty good in this GT3 Cup car, but remember, after our next round, the round that our viewers have all voted on, we switch things up and move to a GT4 car. We'll see how he gets along with that.
Yeah, we will, absolutely. And the different cars can suit different people. As down into the hairpin we go, and Casey Kerwin decides that 5th isn't good enough, and he moves up to 4th place ahead of Kenny 500 there. So with 21 minutes remaining in this race, well, he's up to 4th place. And look at this. We've got Quirk on the left, we've got Tony Kanaan on the right, and, well, the best buds because they've got matching shirts.
Yeah, you see, even if they are not in the same room, they've got the bond that connects them across of the simulators. Of course, unfortunately, not racing necessarily in the same region right now. TK still leading, Quirk down in 11th position and 7 seconds off of the leader. But you remember when we chatted with TK and Quirk last time, Paul? Do you remember how excited Quirk was?
Yeah, Quirk was getting a bit, was getting a little bit excited, wasn't he, in the race? And I will never forget the absolute sound of panic in somebody's voice whilst he's getting interviewed. I've never had that in an in-race interview, but certainly Quirk was really just on edge, shall we say, last time out.
Yeah, just a little bit. It was a feisty round at the Hockenheim, not just for our All-Stars, but for the Super Cup drivers as well. And it was really cool to see them together and to have that opportunity to chat with the both of them at the same time. And I get the feeling that we're going to get the chance to do that once again as Quirk and TK join the broadcast booth once again. Unfortunately, though, TK, you're not racing in the same room today.
Yeah, well, actually, fortunately, because I don't have somebody spilling on my coffee, messing my stuff up. I mean, he actually changed the clutch settings on my clutch, and I missed the start on the first time.
There's the racing driver excuses. Quirk, you guys did the iRacing Bathurst 12 hours together. I've got to ask, how did that race go for you guys?
It was actually going really good. It's nice that I can help out the senior citizens and, have TK drive for us with Jimmy. And it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, we had a hardware failure, but it was a lot of fun.
TK, obviously it was announced this past week that this coming Indianapolis 500 will be your final race. How are you preparing for that one, and how are you looking forward to the month of May?
I don't think you can ever be prepared to retire, but I'm happy. It's been a long career, 25 years. So maybe actually give me a little bit more time to become a better sim racer, man, because this is terrible for me.
Well, you're running at the front, so it can't get much worse than that. Quirk, we've got one more race in the GT3 Cup car after this, and then we're off to the Porsche 718 Cayman GT4. Can you tell the viewers a little bit more about that car compared to this one?
One's, I think, a little bit better for closer racing, as I got to slow down. Well, I can't go much slower already. Okay, great. But I think the GT4 lends itself to being really good for close racing. Last year in the PESC All-Stars, each time we raced the GT4, the races were very close and really good battling. It'll be nice to have some ABS and TC for the less skilled drivers like myself, so that'll be nice.
We'll let you guys go because Tony Kanan's being chased down by Basic Ollie. That gap now down to almost 1 second. Great to talk to the both of you once again, and we'll chat throughout the rest of the season.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Always fun, Paul. Always fun, and the shots being thrown on both sides there. It's great.
Yeah, I'm not getting between those two, even if it is a friendly rivalry. By the way, it's no longer Basic Ollie who's in second place now. It is Casey Kerwin, so TK is going to have some interest behind him as we've got changing the positions further down. That's Le46 getting ahead of Dave Cam and Lawrence Van Tor. Just letting them seeming to just letting them by, just to maybe just follow them through and see about getting some more tips on how to go around this track right now.
Yeah, I think this GT3 Cup car, again, maybe not Lawrence's wheelhouse. The 911 RSR that we'll be running later on this year would be great, but we're going to have a chat now with our other factory driver, Paul. You're standing by with Lawrence Van Tor.
Yes, so, I mean, Lawrence, I mean, how, as we seem to distract you through the final couple of corners, you know, how are you finding this? It's looking very tricky out there.
Well, taking the summary of it is that I'm pretty bad at it. I have a perfect rig and everything at home, but I mean, to be honest, the last time I was in here was the race I did last year, and I started 2 hours ago, so maybe I should have started a bit earlier, but not getting enough practice at this, and it's quite specific, so yeah, looking pretty bad out there.
But, you know, just talk about, like, you say about that lack of preparation. You know, when you're actually racing in the real cars in the real world, you don't actually get that much track time out there, do you? So you've got to make every second count.
Yeah, for sure. But there it's the same for everyone. Here, you know, the others can literally practice 24/7, which is, you know, different to the real world. But yeah, I definitely miss those 24/7 practice here, which if you want to be a successful sim race, I guess that's what you need to do. But I've tried in the past when we had COVID, I was really involved. But yeah, I guess I have more talent on the track than on the sim.
Well, and that's it. You know, some drivers really take to the sim. Some miss that feeling through your backside. You know, but Lawrence, just we'll let you get on and not distract you anymore. But thank you so much for joining us here.
No problem. Have fun watching me. I'm trying to stay on track, so that's really something.
Thank you very much. So that is our other factory driver, Lawrence Van Tor. And, well, we're having to race up at the front because Casey Kerwin right now is going for second place, our junior, and we've also got him here.
Yeah, we're not allowed to let Casey win. We've got to make sure we distract him as much as possible. Casey, how difficult is Magny-Cours as you try and battle for the lead?
Yeah, it's been, I haven't raced here before. But I had driven some laps at it whenever the track came out. But this combo's really fun, and I don't know why, but I struggled a lot at Hockenheim with braking in this thing, but here it just felt a little bit more natural, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, it's been really fun. I had to like raced it to really know like where to position myself, but I did a good job at the start there. And kind of dodged all the chaos. So I know Heinrich got involved in something. Which kind of got us away from everyone that started back there with us. And yeah, slowly just kind of worked our way forward. Honestly, I've been extremely lucky in this race, I feel like. A lot of people just kind of made mistakes and, you know, slid out of the way. and made my life a lot easier. So, yeah, it's been really fun, and yeah, I wish I wouldn't have screwed up so much in the first race and see what I could have had with Heinrich, because normally, at least last year when Heinrich ran, he was like 6/10 quicker than all of us, and that race I actually felt like I could sort of keep up. So, and then unfortunately got wrecked here. But like I said, it's a really fun combo, and yeah, I'm enjoying it.
I love how you said you never raced here before as you made the pass for the race lead. Everyone wants to know, everyone needs to know, where's the oval rim gone? Have you try-harded today and gone for the Formula rim?
Yeah, it's I always enjoy the Formula rim on this stuff. It's a lot of fun. The oval wheel, people try and get me to do the oval wheel on a road course at some point, but it's like driving a bus. It wouldn't go well. So yeah, it's still fully try-harding with the Formula rim, but yeah.
I feel like next time out we're going to BOP you and we're going to throw we're going to force the oval wheel on. I got to ask, of course, eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series season opener, out of turn 4 you're leading, across the line you're across the line you're in third place, which is still a success at Daytona. I've got to ask how you feel coming out of a season opener like that.
Yeah, it's still obviously a very good run. Can't complain for sure, getting out of Daytona with a top 5. Obviously, wins mean a lot in our series to make the playoffs, so it would have been really nice to get it out of the way there. But, you know, it just didn't work out. So, you know, I kind of had to try and throw a block, a typical super speedway block, and I was looking at the outside wall after it. So, but yeah, it still came out with a top 5. It was a strong run to kick off the year with Xset, and yeah, hopefully we'll carry the momentum into Milwaukee in a week and a half or so.
I'm just warning you, by the way, at this rate, with your speed in the All-Star Series, your iRating being now almost at 9,000 again, we're not going to allow you in the All-Stars in 2024. You're going to have to qualify for the Supercup if you want to race on Saturdays, just so you know.
Noted. Hey, I heard I need to know the fan vote. If anyone got us Long Beach for next week, that's like the one track I'd run a pro race at. But yeah, I need to learn the results of that at some point.
I guess we'll find out in a little bit. You may have to join to find out, I think, is what we're going to have to decide.
Shame.
Well, we'll let you go. You're 1.5 seconds clear. We bugged you enough, and so now you can at least focus for 11 minutes, I guess, and have some fun.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Casey Kerwin, always a great chat there, Paul. It's always great as well at these All-Star races where we could just sit back, relax, and enjoy talking with our drivers as well.
I think I might be out of a job. You could talk for England just for, or talk for the USA for that. I don't need to do any commentary work. You can do it all for me. Yeah, so the race was second then after Casey just casually went and overtook for the lead on Tony Kanaan. So now it's Kanaan versus basically Stradi, Kenny 500 and Jardier. All a queue of cars together out there as they go along. So second to sixth altogether. Emily Jones is behind Borja Zaza, who we've seen can really be a tricky customer to get past. And Quirk, for all the hijinks and fun that he's been having, struggling to get past the both of them.
It's just one of those tracks where you've got to latch on to a mistake, and so far they've been few and far between, unless you're like Casey and, you know, miles faster than everyone else on the field. It's very difficult to get far enough alongside to really be able to commit to a move. You're really thinking about, you know, the run out of turn 3 into one of the hairpins. If someone then, you know, gets a mistake on power, you could try something into the chicanes, but the curbs are so difficult to navigate your way through that it's a really risky opportunity. Talking with some of the Supercup drivers, they think that one of the most dangerous places for them in terms of dive bombs may not honestly be the hairpin. It may be that 180-degree left-hander. So it's going to be a really interesting complexion when we get 30 of those drivers out on track and see what they've got in store for the very first time.
Yeah, absolutely. Always intriguing to see how they all get on out there on track. But look at the concertina effect into that Adelaide hairpin, and then on the power once again towards the Nürburgring chicane. Through the right, then the left they will go. And still, Borja Zazo heading up, the two of them. Emily trying to look to the inside and Zazo defending. Meanwhile, basically is there in third place. He's got Stradi behind, and then Kenny 500 there with him as well. Jardier giving chase as well in all of this. So a good little gaggle of cars then. Third through to sixth. We've also got that race for 9th, 10th and 11th place on both screens here. So action aplenty everywhere out there. I'm sure we will get to speak to another one of you drivers out there. But yeah, these drivers really pushing hard and really trying to get the best results that they can, and basically launching the car over the chicane.
Yeah, I do think that we are going to have to try and do something about Katie Kerwin's speed next week. I think that oval wheel sounds like step number one, but something else has to be done as well. As Emily Jones, a little bit of contact there with Borja Zazo. Quirk will slide on through as Jones still slides through the grass. Quirk will try and get on through at the exit of Estoril, but will back out of it for now. And Emery finds herself in a bit of no man's land.
Yeah, down a couple of places then, and yeah, in that no man's land position, there's Stradi and Kenny 500. A little puff of smoke from one of those cars. On the power, out of the corner they go, and Jardier's seeing some potential moves here coming along through that chicane. Once again, time running down, 7.5 minutes remaining of this race. Quirk looking as well at Borja Zazo. No move being made between the two of those. So yeah, this is a real challenge for these drivers out there, and these all-stars, they always put on a good show. Not being quite as, how shall we say, action-packed as last time out at the Hockenheim ring, but certainly really close between all these drivers.
Yeah, we're going to get a look at some of the curb usage through the final chicane. Just look at how the front end launches in the air, and when you do that, you lose some, control over the car. It just rolls over the bumps, and those raised curbs are not just present at that final chicane, they are present through most of the track as well. So it's part of why this is such a difficult challenge to navigate through. TK alongside with Basic Ollie, remember, at 37 machine had a great run last time until he had some contact. It's now TK that feels the pressure and slides through the gravel. Basic Ollie up to second, TK down to 8th.
Oh, I tell you what, TK's done a tremendous job to keep control of that car off the track and to not end up wiping out somebody through there. So well done. But basically it was who put the pressure on, forced the mistake from TK, and now basically finds himself in second place, but he's under intense pressure from behind of Stradi and from Kenny 500. These two drivers are going to keep him honest all the way through the rest of this race, with 5 3/4 minutes remaining of this one. There's about 3.5 laps remaining, well, it's around that point for how long's remaining in this race here. But Ollie, you can see the pressure that he's under. He's got several racetracks in his background as well of shot. Also gives us a view as to how many subscribers he's got as well on YouTube, so that's really nice to see as well.
Yeah, everyone knows that the way that you could tell if a race car fan is educated is by the track maps behind them, and so Basic Ollie just wants to make sure that he lets us know that he is truly cultured. Now, Basic Ollie did win an iRacing Daytona 500 this week, so he's enjoyed some success at Daytona in a super speedway style race, and I'm sure there's plenty that carries forward into his preparation for this all-star race.
Yeah, although don't forget that Ollie, he did finish up there in the podium position, second place actually last time out in our reverse grid race. So I think when you get him into a position out of the chaos and carnage and all the drivers that have ever been done for driving offences on the road, once you get him out of that trouble pack, he can do well out there and can really hold on to a place. But here's Borja Zazo again repping the team gear and heading through. He's still holding on ahead of Quirk and of Emery, as well as a little bit of a lock-up, almost Emily wiping out Quirk there.
No product placement, definitely none required. Borja Zazo willing to fly the flag. so tight, and it's such a check-up zone into that hairpin. Meanwhile, front of the field, have we noted the gap that Casey Kerwin has managed to pull away? 7.1 seconds. It's not fair. And producer Drew was, telling me in my ear that we do have to make sure that Casey qualifies next year for the World Championships. It wouldn't be the second iRacing World Championship for Casey Curran, because he's competed in some of the Dirt Oval World Championships here in iRacing as well. So he just add yet another one to the accomplished resume of his sim racing career.
He won't be the first person as well to do multiple World Championships as well. So, maybe if he put a bit of effort in for once and actually tried, then maybe he would be able to qualify for the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup, which we have got coming up shortly. So do stick around, because around about 7 o'clock UK time, we are going to be seeing the World Championship races, and also stick around for after this race, because we're going to be revealing where both the All-Stars and the Pest drivers are going to be racing at next time out. So do stick around with us around here. But through they go through Estoril once again, and Basic Ollie's pulled out a little bit of a gap over Stradi, which is meaning Kenny 500 is pushing on and trying to get third place and a podium finish.
I love this camera shot that we can get here on iRacing, just from over the car's shoulder, basically. And you'll just see as we dive through this first chicane, named after the complex at the Nürburgring, how much you want to run over to the right-hand side on exit, down through the gears as you slow the car down and just tiptoe through until you've turned enough to get on power and start getting that momentum going forward. A lot of people just assume that when you get on power, you turn the car, but you're also decreasing the radius of the corner, so it's such a balancing act of patience. This second chicane, it's not about going over to the right, it's about setting up instead over to the left, and then getting all the way down the gears and slowing the car almost right to a dead halt, and then back on the power. You can just also see in front of Kenny 500 the pressure that Stradi continues to apply to Basic Ollie, even with a couple of car lengths separating them. They should have 2 laps left to go as they get ready to cross the line once again, so plenty of opportunities for Stradi to find a way forward, for Kenny 500 to find an opportunity of his own.
Oh, but that's a little mistake from Kenny 500 through the final chicane, and that's going to mean that, if Jade was just that little bit closer, he would have been able to take advantage. So Kenny 500 does lose out a little bit. Different lines being taken through Estoril. And Basic Ollie's is trying to get the corner exit lined up and get the speed out the corner. But here comes Stradi then. Down into the hairpin. Basic Ollie's is going defensive straight away onto the brakes through the right-hander. And there's Kenny 500 to take advantage of it. There's also side-by-side action a little bit further back as well, as we focus on this race for second place. And Ollie, we saw how he can be a good defensive driver. Well, he's having to show off all of those skills once again through 180. Oh, a little bit wide on corner apex. Through the left-hander. And Stradi is still alongside at the moment.
Just alongside. However, it is going to be interesting. Basic Ollie, by the way, has also won his race for the iRacing Bathurst 12 Hours in a Porsche 911 GT3R. So we mentioned the Daytona win for him, but backing up his special event victories.
As we go through that final chicane, and it will be one more lap to go here. Through turns 1 and 2 then for Casey Kerwin, with 9.7 seconds is the gap. We've got racing further down as well. Basic Ollie has been able to pull out a gap over Stradi, so obviously a mistake has happened. You can see on that timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen, Stradi now is about 2.5, 3 seconds back from Basic Ollie, but Casey Kerwin out the front is having things all his own way here, Arjuna.
Yeah, he said he never raced here before, but he got up to rhythm pretty quickly and really got to grips with the challenges here of Magny-Cours. It is a very technical track. It's something that the drivers have already talked about. My word, what has gone on into the hairpin? TK shortcutting there and maybe oversending it. Complete calamity on the very final lap.
Well, we said it had been quite a calm race, but that isn't calm. Into the Adelaide hairpin, Tony Kanaan absolutely sending it and wiping out about 3 or 4 other people. I tell you what, I'm surprised the strike graphic didn't come up then on screen. That was a perfect strike, was that, but still, a change up in the order, but basically will be happy in second place, and Jardier, under the weather, 3rd place right now, but your leader is going to be coming through towards the end of the race here then, and Casey Kerwin, just a couple more corners to go through the final chicane, and he will be your race winner here in the main race of the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup All-Stars. Rest of your field then will come across the line eventually, because my goodness, that was absolutely sensation, and yeah, you quite rightly celebrate that one, Casey, as the rest of them all come through on screen then. And then we will be giving you your unofficial race results as we go to the Buzz post-race show then. And we will get you your unofficial race results here in this, the main race for the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup All-Stars. It's Kerwin from Ollie, Jardier, Heike 360, Quirk, Westradi, Tony Kanaan, Bolgezazo, Emery, and Love 46. Round out your top 10. Kenny 500, Dave Cam, Lauren Heinrich, Dan Suzuki, and Lauren Van Tor are your results. And I'm sure after a while, there's your standings, by the way. Casey Kerwin, 36 points clear of Jardier. And we will get to have a chat with Casey right now, Arjuna.
Yeah, Casey Kerwin will have a quick chat with you. We chatted with you during the race, but we couldn't distract you enough, it seems. Now, 2 victories out of 4 races this season. How much are you enjoying this 911 Cup car? And yeah, it's going to be good that we can at least mix it up with the GT4 in a few races' time.
Yeah, it's been super fun. The first race at Hockenheim, it was really tricky to get the braking right, but here I don't know if I just got more used to it over time or what, but it felt a lot better. But it's a very fun car, especially on a long run with managing tires and everything. Again, I keep saying it, but I feel like that kind of plays into kind of how I drive a bit more from the NASCAR stuff. So, yeah, it's been super fun. And like I said, the combo of this car at this track was very, very fun to drive, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Well, thanks for chatting with us, Casey, in the Bose post-race show. You get to find out now with everyone else after we send you off, Paul, where we're going racing.
Yeah, next time out, thank you to everyone for voting on this one. We are going to be heading to Long Beach then for race number 3 of the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup. Thank you, everybody, for joining and voting on that one. And, well, that will certainly give us some exciting racing, that is for sure. But, well, in just a few moments' time, we will be heading on over to the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup. 30 of the best road racing drivers here on iRacing competing for a championship, a world championship that is. So make sure you join us for that. But thank you to all our All-Stars. But here we go with the PESC.
This is virtual racing with real stakes. This is fine lines, milliseconds, and 200 grand. This is insane, but that's what keeps us coming back for more. The Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup by iRacing, live on YouTube and Twitch.
Green flag, and we are off for the sprint race in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup.
$200,000 on the line. Who will rise to the challenge? This is racing for immortality. This is esports personified. This is the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup.
Well, after an exciting All-Stars races, we now head on over to the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup, and we're coming to you from the circuit Magny-Cours here in France for round number 2 of the championship at a track that these drivers have never raced at. Well, Arjuna, after the first round at Hockenheim, we had some dramatic racing out there, and we should see some again here tonight.
It was feisty in round number 1, that's for sure. Jordan Caruso getting his first ever pole position in the series, but then into the hairpin, things started to go wrong, but we're in a very good place to have some great racing for round number 2.
So there you go, that is where next time we're going to be racing, which is going to be at Long Beach. Thank you to everyone who did vote in that track vote for this series. And so that will be some tremendous racing on March the 4th, so 2 weeks' time that we will be heading on over to that very venue out there. But right now, it is this track Arjuna in France of Magny-Cours, and we've been saying it all along, tricky, can be technical as well.
Yeah, it's one where I think on lap number 1, everyone's going to focus on one distinct choke point, but there are a couple different bottlenecks from which to play with. Of course, there are some fast sweepers, notably turn number 3, named after the famed track at Estoril. Of course, after that, the run into the Adelaide hairpin before you sweep down to the Nürburgring chicane through a 180-degree left-hand sweeper before you dive into the Imola chicane and the final sector of the lap. Opened back in 1960, but didn't take on this form until 1986 or so. It's relatively flat, not at that much elevation at just 4.4 kilometers in length. It's going to be a feisty one with qualifying in this new format that we've got that saw 4 drivers fail to set a lap time in round number 1.
Yeah, new qualifying format for these drivers. There you go, that's where we are this week. Long Beach next time out, Circuit the Americas then 2 weeks after that. We head to the Red Bull Ring, Watkins Glen, Spa, the Nürburgring, circuit, the circuit down there at Circuit de la Sarthe, and then of course Monza, the traditional final for the championship here. And this is the qualifying format, Arjuna. It caught us out a little bit last time out because I think the drivers got a little bit confused as well, but those drivers 30th to 6th in the points all go out at the same time, 1 lap qualifying, and then the Group B, which is 5th to 1st, they will then go out separately as well to give us that look at who gets pole position in the sprint race.
And when you say go out at the same time, don't forget we're talking about lone car qualifying, so everyone gets the track to themselves. Don't forget iRacing.com/PESC if you want to learn more about the series. This new qualifying format also means we get to see the top 5 in the championship go out one by one in Super Pole style format. We'll get their lap times and we'll see them across the line, and hopefully we'll see how they feel about their lap times on their faces as well as they get ready to see how things go in the sprint race. We know things are going to be difficult to pass here. It's just inherent in the track design. So the question I have is how many drivers are going to be content to settle for the 8th position, which will invert to start our feature race at the very front?
Well, that is going to be a very, very pertinent question here in this one. Qualifying will be starting shortly here today. And yeah, as you say, do check out iRacing.com/PESC for details on standings and also the schedule as well, which will be updated with Long Beach. But here we go then. Group A are heading out for qualifying right now, Arjuna, and well, we should hopefully be able to speak to whoever is the quickest of this group once they finish their laps.
Yeah, and I think we saw last time 4 drivers, like I mentioned, Maximilian Benecker, Gustavo Ariel, Johan Hart, and Christopher Dambeats not be able to punch in qualifying times. In 3 of those cases, it was because of invalidations, going over the limits of the track. In one case, it was not attempting a lap time at all. Margins in qualifying are so tight in this series, Paul. 1st through 26th in round number 1 were split by 100.7%. A lot of the time in motorsports, we talk about 107%. Just let that sink in, 100.7%.
It's unbelievable just how close this championship is here, and well, it just keeps on giving, does this series. Well, one of our new drivers to the championship from Finland, from Turku, and Oskari Rin is out there getting some lap time and getting some heat into his tyres. Sebastian Job, Well, I think disappointed is understatement as to how he was feeling after last time out at Hockenheim. Of course, getting involved in that incident in the second in the main race. Simone Maria Marcheno getting caught up in the shenanigans at the hairpin last time out. He'll be wanting to get himself a good lap time in here and get himself a good qualification. But it's all about making sure you keep the car within track limits and keep the car going in the right direction in a rather fast fashion as we go through and start these hot laps.
Yeah, remember, for a handful of drivers, including for this man, Tuomas Tattala, a busy weekend last week has really meant that their preparations are somewhat stifled, traveling back from Poland. Same with this man, Maximilian Benecke, who had a very successful weekend. So it's all about getting settled back into the rhythm and going from here. Benecke, of course, unable to get the lap sorted last time out. That was one of his things in the last couple of years that he had highlighted, identified as saying, you know, that's a thing that I can do better. An opportunity in round number 2 to correct that.
Kevin Nielsen as well, one of the newcomers to the series then, out there on track for the fire at Sim Sport. Down into the hairpin, and we're getting some of the first sector times coming through on the timing screen. Max Benecke currently looking good through the first sector of the lap, and there's two drivers have had to take to tow back to pit road, Alexei Nesov and Matthias Stuckbeck as well. So two drivers at least not able to set themselves a lap time.
Yeah, Alexei Nesov, I don't think, has been looking forward to this one, unfortunately. I was having a chat with him earlier, and he was asking me about some of the iRacing Daytona 500 options rather than talking about this particular race. So I think he kind of had resigned himself and maybe not feeling the flow of the track necessarily. It is one of those awkward ones, new to iRacing as well. Not many of the drivers will have too many experiences with the track, but here we go. Group A, we've sent out 25 drivers, and the times are going to start trickling in.
Yeah, so time starting to come in Oscar Mangan then currently fastest with Max Benecke in second place. Rest of them coming through now. Time's coming thick and fast. Sebastian Job now, your fastest lap time here in qualifying at this moment in time, with Cooper Webster joining him on the provisional front row of the grid. So the two Oracle Red Bull eSports drivers out there at the front. Mangan and Tetela at the moment in third and fourth place, as the rest of your times are coming in. Oh, launch over the chicane then. That should invalidate the lap, and it does for Sam Keitert. I mean, if there was an award for most impressive finish to a qualifying lap, I think that would be it.
Yeah, full effort, that's for sure. So now, though, we switch from the focus on the Group A drivers to the Group B drivers. Alessandro Bico was sent out first, Zach Campbell next, Pinto, Caruso, Collins. That's how we'll run from this point forward, with the benchmark being laid down. And I did say 2 weeks ago that I thought Sebastian Job was the man that was going to try and dominate in qualifying. It went pretty good for him in qualifying overall, still inside the top 5, but Caruso, Pinto, Collins and Sanchez were all able to find a little bit more speed from the car. He's got a full 10th and then some on the rest of the field. What do the rest of the 5 drivers have to respond with?
Sebastian Job does have 8 pole positions so far, and Arjuna, you've got the man himself currently in provisional pole position.
Yeah, Sebi, good lap there. How are you feeling about a 138.678 with 5 cars still left to go?
Yeah, can't complain about the lap, honestly. It could have been an absolute banger, but I had a bit of a mistake in the third sector. Lost maybe a 10th, but the rest of it was, yeah, excellent. I was really happy with it. Just kind of relieved because qualifying here is horrible with the final chicane. It's like one of the hardest tracks on the calendar, and then you top it off with the hardest corner on the calendar, probably. So yeah, just very relieved, honestly.
You said you were feeling good about your qualifying preparation, not so good about the race preparation. 2 weeks ago, racing maybe didn't go so great. How are you feeling, though, about being able to maintain track position here at the front?
Yeah, I think it's good. I'm at worst P6 now, which is not bad at all. I'm not sure how good my race pace is, like I said. I think part of it is that my teammate Cooper is crazy fast in race pace here. So I'm hoping with him P2, me P1. Well, for now, obviously it's not going to stay that way. But I'm hoping yeah, we can have a good result.
I'll ask you one more question. Of course, we've always known that you like to run your force feedback quite strong. Now that you've sat behind a Formula 1 simulator, how's your neck doing?
You know what? Neck is not doing so great. I need to work on that if I'm gonna hop into real cars at some point, but...
There we go. Enjoy that. We're going to keep you around, apparently, until your time gets beat to you. So we're going to, one by one, see the times come on in. It's going to be Zach Campbell, one of the first across the line here, Paul.
Yeah, well, Beaker has already been across the line, could only get himself into 8th place, and Zach Campbell, by 5/1000th of a second, has beaten Sebastian. And, well, Sebastian, I mean, that must be gut-wrenching just how close that is.
Hey, you know what? I think the worst part is the fact that you can ask me about it straight after. It's a good lap from Zach, and that makes my mistake even more frustrating. But that's a good lap from Zach, and I can't complain. I'm happy with my lap. So, yeah.
Well, you got to control what you can control at the end of the day, haven't you? But these drivers, they do put in a lot of effort, including yourself out there, and the margins are just so tight in this championship. You know that through the 5 years that you've raced in this. Yeah,
it's definitely one of the closest series out there, so it's not a surprise that I'm beaten by such a small margin. It was, I said it, I don't expect to stay P1, so yeah, not a huge shock, honestly.
Well, we're waiting for those final few times to come in, though. Pinto, Collins and Caruso all out there on track right now, coming to finish their lap, so it should be Pinto who comes across the line first to get his time. The question is, will he be able to beat your time? Well, we're about to find out. Come across the line we go. And the time, well, it doesn't beat you, Sebastian. So you're still in second place for the time being, but we've got Jordan Caruso is now in there. But Sebastian, we'll let you go and prepare for the start of this race. Thank you for joining us here.
Yeah, thank you guys. See you soon.
So there we go, that's Sebastian Job heading on out, but we've got a couple more drivers still to go here, Arjuna. And well, Jordan Caruso, he was on pole position last time. Can he do it again through the final chicane? Launches the car up over the curbs, comes across the line, and Caruso only goes 6th.
But the margins here are pretty tight. First through third, split by just 700ths, and then between Cooper Webster in 4th, all the way back through the 25 cars that have times on the board. It's hundredths, it's thousandths that splits them. Just one car left to go. It's Charlie Collins, the Welshman, that sits on top in the championship after what was a pretty consistent round number 1 for him, after, of course, finishing race number 1 in second, and then race number 2 in second as well. What can he do with the pressure and focus on him at the end of Group B qualifying?
Don't forget as well, it's not just about starting at the front of the field. There are championship points on the line here in qualifying, and Charlie Collins just got a few more corners to go here. About 4 corners remaining for him to try and get this lap time finished. I can tell you, first and second sectors are not purple. They're just personal bests. It's all about this final sector for Charlie then through the right-hander, get it lined up for the final chicane, hop over the curbs, across the line he goes, and that will put him in 8th place. So that does mean that Zach Campbell, Charlie Collins' teammate, will start this race on pole position and find himself the pole position award winner, the second different driver this season to get pole position here for Tag Heuer.
It's going to be an interesting battle in this award as well, because it's so tight, those margins. Remember, 5,000 splitting Campbell from Job as we take a look at the standings, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. There's 1 pole each. The Australian Jordan Caruso and the American Zach Campbell, who, of course, won the main race last time out at the Hockenheim Ring. And that's 10 juicy points going towards him in his championship campaign. Well, the drivers now will get themselves prepared for this first race, a sprint race here, of course. And, well, it is going to be 10 laps of action for you in the sprint race. And, well, this qualifying here, this new process, now we've got it bedded in a bit, certainly gives us plenty of insight and plenty of action to see who does get into that pole position.
Yeah, now that everyone's read the rulebook properly, after round number 1's actually in the rearview mirror, Zach Campbell grabs the second pole position of the season. And again, I think getting a good run here at the start, not that important because it's short blast into the first actual sweep. But then once you come out of turn 3, if your tires have maybe overheated, if you drop the clutch a little bit too aggressively and you've got some wheel spin, you're going to start feeling the effects of it as you roll your way down to that hairpin. And we saw what happened at the first major passing opportunity in round number 1, Paul. Some pressure at the front, some chaos at the back, and I'm sure we're in for a bit more of that here as we get ready to go for the first time at Magny-Cours.
Yeah, certainly first time for these drivers in this series to be competing here at Magny-Cours, and we will be getting ourselves set for that first race. So let's give you your starting grid, and it is the American Zach Campbell on the front row of the grid with the Brit Sebastian Job alongside him. Diogo Pinto, last season's champion, with Cooper Webster, Oscar Mangan and Jordan Caruso make it an all-Altus row number 3. Thomas Tattala with Charlie Collins row 4 with Max Benecke and Gustavo Aurelio. Lasse Bach and Alessandro Bico on row number 6, and then you see some of the other names down there in the field. Jamie Fluke is there on row number 7, Simone Maria Marchena on row number 9. Sanchez, one of your championship contenders a few years ago, down on row number 10. Bobby Zelensky, row 12 for him. And the final few drivers you see, there's one name missing, and that is Gianni Vecchio, who unfortunately has injured himself and is not able to compete here, so we do wish him all the best in his recovery. But, well, Arjuna, you wouldn't want to miss a thing right now because we have got 29 drivers all heading towards turn 1.
Yeah, and all with one focus on their minds, and that is just getting through the opening lap safely. Now they've also been made aware what the next track is, I'm sure, in some case. Some of them will already be thinking about what Long Beach will hold in 2 weeks' time, but for the vast majority, they've got to keep focus on this first race at Magny-Cours and what it means for the drivers in terms of being able to hold on to some of their momentum.
So, after an enthralling and exciting opening round in this race, in the series at Hockenheim, we now head to the first sprint race here at Magny-Cours in the Porsche Heuer eSports Supercup. The green flag is waved and we're underway here. It's a good start from pole position for Zach Campbell. Sebastian Job, Diogo Pinto getting themselves through into second and third place, with Cooper Webster fourth. Got to keep an eye on Webster because, as Sebastian Job told us in that interview, he is quick in race pace. Through we go through the first couple of corners, and we've got a car stopped out on track, dropping down the order, and it's Max Benecke has dropped all the way to the back of the field. Something's happened to him. Sarika's dropped down as well, the order, as they head on into the Adelaide hairpin for the first time, and it's Skittles. This car's going banging into each other there, and I believe it was the Apex car of Johan Haaf.
It may have been Jamie Fluke that's got the very worst of it, but all we know is absolute chaos. Moreno Sarika, victim at turn number 1, fortunately spared from all of that. Benecke got it on the run down through into the Adelaide hairpin front of the field, though it was a lot more tidy. Sebastian Job able to hold on to second and sees his teammate Cooper Webster now slide up behind him into third position, with Diogo Pinto relegated to fourth as they wind towards the final sector. As Zach Campbell that still leads with his mirrors filled with charging bulls.
Zach Campbell, of course, has got race wins to his name, just one sprint race win to his name, so that he could double that figure if he's able to hold on to this, but he's got some hard chargers behind him. Sebastian Job, of course, a driver who won the 2020 Porsche Heuer eSports Supercup, 11 sprint wins to his name as they go through across the line for the first time, end of the first lap. But let's take a look at what happened then to Max Benecke. There you see his car circled there, Arjuna, and this is in through turn number 3.
He's going to get pinched potentially by the 93, and then it's also contact, I think, with the Thomas Tattala's heroic car as they all just try to funnel their way through, and unfortunately Benecke gets the worst of it, and he gets off into the weeds, off into the wall. Unfortunately, minimal damage to him there, but Benecke's season really not starting off the way he would have been hoping for his brand new team.
Yeah, that's not the best way to start your season so far. Of course, remember, did not qualify last time out and had to work his way through the field in those 2 races at Hockenheim. Now at the back of the field, he's still going out there, still turning laps, but he's outside of the points is Max Beneke. But through corner 180 once again, Sebastian Job just hanging back for the time being. He's 0.6 of a second behind Zach Campbell. We've not really talked about the conditions out there. Track temperature just a few points of degrees below 40 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, it's pretty scorching for the tires. Let's take a look though. Let's go back to the lap number 1 moment down at the hairpin. You described it as Skittles. This is going to be a great view from our camera that we just parked at the hairpin. One of the Stormforce Apex Racing team cars really going aggressive down the inside. Johan Hart did get a bit of a checkup in one of the Apex Racing team cars, but the biggest loser of that all was Lasse back in the Fire Simsport 24 car, who has dropped to 26th position.
Yeah, I said at the time it was Harf's car that went through and did the Skittles, but he was helped into that position. No fault for Johan there in that one. But as we go through Estoril corner once again onto this back straight, and Campbell's just holding fort at the front of the field for the time being. Webster third ahead of Pinto, Mangan, Caruso, Tetela. Charlie Collins in the 93 car is currently in 8th place, and with the grid inversion for the main race, that would mean at the moment he will be the driver starting on pole position for the main race. And Bryn, his brother, having a sensational race opening to this race, up into 9th place now, and doing a good job, as we see also the race for 12th place going on. Alessandro Bico in there with Johan Harf and Oskari Ryan.
Yeah, after Alessandro Bico's really strong performance in round number 1, that of course saw him in the top 5 in the championship standings, had a struggle at the start of this race, had dropped back almost 7 positions, has been able to recover to where he started up in 12th spot, and will now try and work his way forward. I think Charlie Collins is going to be somewhat content to ride where he is for the time being. Not many points to be gained by venturing forward, and of course with extra points being paid out in the feature race, he will gladly take the reverse top invert of the 8 cars at the front of the field and start at the front of that next race. Meanwhile, his teammate still feels that pressure from Sebastian Job as Cooper Webster runs right.
Slow down penalty for Sebastian Job. I thought he caught the chicane wrong. Launches over the curb, and that's caused a huge issue for him. And that means that drops him down from 2nd to 4th. That allows his teammate Cooper Webster to be the driver to try and take the fight to Zach Campbell at the front. But it's now a second between Campbell and Webster, and Diogo Pinto, last season's champion, currently finds himself in 3rd place. And once again, we saw this last year with Diogo Pinto. He only got 1 win all season out of 20 races, only 1 win, but he was so consistent with his approach.
Yeah, someone in our Twitch chat on Porsche called him Captain Consistency. I think we're going to have to stick with that moving forward. Here's a replay of just how much these drivers are pushing the limits and how easy it is for them to be caught. Job just takes all 4 tires inside of the white line and instantly knows the pain, pulls off to the left and drops himself, fortunately only, to 4th position.
Yeah, he didn't want to disadvantage his teammate, did he? That's the reason why he got immediately off to the left. Let Webster and Pinto by, served that slowdown penalty. It's something, if you've never seen an iRacing race before, it's something that the simulation does automatically. If you cut that course and you gain an advantage, it will give you what's called a slowdown penalty, and you have about 30 seconds to serve that in, and it means that you lose that advantage that you did gain just by cutting across the inside of the chicane there. And it's also in effect at all other corners. But of course, I have a funny feeling here today, Arjuna, that Sebastian is not going to be the only driver who gets caught out by that.
I'm surprised we haven't had more of them get caught out by it. It's just, you're pushing so hard, you're on the limit. And we talked with Lauren Heinrich earlier, right? The difference between anti-lock brakes and traction control and having them on and off. This car has them. We've got them turned off. We've challenged the driver, just like we do in the Porsche Supercup in the real world, to really have to get the most out of the car. Zach Campbell is managing to find a lot of speed in that car, has been able to open up a bit of a separation. Meanwhile, some battling a little bit further back. Johan Hart and Alessandro Bico seem to be going back and forth.
Yeah, you can see that on that timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen there. Just the changes of position going on a little bit further down. But there's Sebastian Job then. 4th place, was able to slot in front of Oscar Mangan and Jordan Caruso. And then behind them, Thomas Tetteler in that number 97 car. Ahead of Charlie Collins with his brother Bryn behind. Bryn, who of course still owes me a donut from a few weeks ago, so I'm still waiting for that one, Bryn. But you can see we've got this race at the top then. Race for 7th place, and then the race for 17th, because Quentin Violate right now finds himself in 17th. Oh, dive to the inside though, and bye-bye, down Luca Kita goes.
Yep, it's getting physical down at the very tail end of the pack as they just jockey for all of this position. They'll do so into the final corner. A couple of Urano cars trying to cycle forward. Moreno Sorica was off at turn number 1, but back up into the top 20, at least for the time being. Slots in behind Nesov, who's tucked up behind a third of the Altus eSports cars. Simona Maria Marcheno would have wanted to be a little bit higher than 18th position, but he's got lots of fun to deal with for the time being. Violate is taking the opportunity to cycle away and break the toe to those behind.
If you ever want to have a character in all of sim racing, Simona Maria Marcheno is certainly one of those. As down they go towards the hairpin once again. You can see the damage though on these cars, on both on Jamie Fluke's car and also on Luca Kita's car as well. We're going to dive to the inside from the Stormforce car. Little bit of a tap, but able to carry on as Kita. But that was, I believe, that was Matthias Stuckback then making a move in that Stormforce car. And Stuckback again, with one of those newcomers to the series in the number 92, now finds himself in 23rd place.
Yeah, Stuckback's already drawn the ire of the stewards so far this season, so he will want to make sure he avoids doing so. Let's grab a look at the replay of what happened though in that brief little fracturing that we had of the pack. We'll look on board with the 71 machine as we ride our way through, and you'll just see a little bit of contact from behind.
So it was a little bit of an assistance, and Kita will be absolutely furious about that, let's be honest. And Marcheno then getting into the back of Luca Kita and causing him to lose positions here. So we'll carry on. We're already on to lap 7. This race has flown by here in the opening going here. Who said that that this race wouldn't be exciting? Well, certainly not me, because this has been a thrill ride all the way through. Zach Campbell though, he is being caught by Cooper Webster at the front of your field. Diogo Pinto third, just loitering with intent for if those two start battling each other. Sebastian Job then in 4th place. There is your current live standings in the championship points, and Zach Campbell will have a 7-point lead over Diogo Pinto if things stand as they are right now.
Still a long way to go, but I'm also looking at that battle inside the top 15 and the live points that we have to factor in, because of course that is where drivers will grab licenses for next year's Super Cup. And of course, it is great to see Oscar Mangan up inside of the top 5. Did not really have the luck of the rub at the Hockenheim ring. Was feeling a little bit like he had some more preparation to do. Went away, did the preparation, and now runs in front of the driver that grabbed pole position in round number 1 of the championship. So Oscar Mangan, newly recruited at Altus eSports, of course, coming into this World Championship, doing quite well and looking like he'll grab a top 5 in round 2 of the series.
Yeah, certainly looking good so far, but don't count your chickens until they hatch. As they go through that chicane once again, the cars leaping into the air like salmon heading upstream as they go through turn number 1 once again. So Thomas Tetteler we're looking at right now on screen, and look a little bit further back, Bobby Zelensky, Oskar Irain up there on screen. You can see the battle between the two of them on the top monitor, and look at Zelensky and also Ryan as well, doing his best to try and hold on to that 13th place. But Bobby Zelensky, he wants to move forward in this race.
It's great to have Bobby Zelensky back in the series, isn't it? I mean, he's just one of those drivers, much like Casey Curran, that seems to be able to do it all. we ride on board, meanwhile, not with Zelensky, but with his teammate Charlie Collins. Again, he's in that 8th position, the position that gets inverted to start at the front of the feature race that will run for 20 laps in length, and Charlie Collins came into this round as the championship leader. Don't think he's in a terrible spot, of course, riding with Bryn Collins behind, and then, of course, Alejandro Sanchez rounding out the top 10. Charlie Collins, I think, slightly frustrated, I'm sure, with how the one-shot qualifying rolled for him, but he'll at least know that it's such a difficult track to pass at that he'll settle for the time being.
You know, I said when Charlie came into this series a couple of years ago, I said that he was going to be somebody to keep an eye on for a potential championship run. It didn't pan out last year, but this year he's had a really good start to the championship. He'll be looking to progress forward and keep on moving forward. Bryn Collins now has got the experienced Alejandro Sanchez right behind him now. So it's rookie versus experienced hand. Through turn 1 they go. And as much as I dislike it, that is the line that they are allowed to take into turn number 1. But there's the two Collins brothers then on screen. Charlie on the left, Bryn on the right, as they head on down that backstretch.
I'm trying to figure out, when Bryn Collins gets a little bit older, how is he going to compare to his older brother Charlie? You can definitely tell the family resemblance. Not the only siblings that we've had in World Championships, of course. My mind goes back to the iRacing Rallycross World Championship, where we had the Robertsons representing, of course, the Apex Racing team. Bryn does get passed, though, by one of our ever-present drivers in the form of Alejandro Sanchez, who's now still having to fight his way on through as we battle with 2 laps left to go, but it's getting feisty, and now Charlie Collins has some gap behind him and will settle into that 8th position.
Yeah, so the question is now, can Sanchez get up to Collins? I don't think he will, with that gap that's been formed by those two duking it out for 9th place. But that race up at the front then, Zach Campbell, he'll be doing the best that he can to try and hold on to this one. As I said, only 1 sprint race win to his name. He's got 2 main race wins to his name, so Campbell does know what it's like to be in the winner's lane through the final chicane, and the start of the final lap here in this opening race of the evening in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup. And these two duking it out. Cooper Webster, of course, with that real-world experience as well, knows what it's like to be involved in the heat of a battle. Right now, Campbell just seems to have that little bit of an edge through the first few corners.
Bit of dirty air as well for, of course, Webster to contend with. And at this point, with 10 laps done, the tyres surely getting fairly toasty. But, of course, don't forget that the feature race double in length. So by the time we complete 10 laps, we've only done half the race distance. And so if this is a struggle for the drivers, just imagine how much more the tyres will be struggling by the time we get to the end of the feature race. But they built a bit of a gap and separation to Diogo Pinto. Sebastian Job, after his slowdown, will settle for 4th position as it stands right now. Just a couple more corners to go for Zach Campbell to hold on.
Yep, through the hairpin then at 180, out of the corner. Such a tricky part of the track. Those rear tyres will be starting to scream a little bit at these drivers for the abuse that they're putting them through. Well, there's one way of reducing tyre wear. Don't use the tyres at all and just launch the car over the curbs. Through the final few corners they go then. Will Cooper Webster make any moves? I don't think he will, you know. I think he'll settle for 2nd place. But Zach Campbell, the young American, well, he's just got the final chicane to make it through. Can he do that cleanly? The answer is yes, across the line, and Zach Campbell takes the checkered flag, and he's the race winner here in the sprint race at Circuit Magny-Cours in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup. The question is, how are the rest of those finishers going to come across the line? Well, Alejandro Sanchez was able to hold on to 9th place. Johan Half gets 12th place in the end there. But my goodness, that was an exciting opening race here today. And here's your provisional results then. Zach Campbell by just under half a second over Cooper Webster, with Pinto, Job, Mangan, Caruso, Tetela. Collins is going to be in the inverted grid position. with Sanchez and the other Collins in 10th place. Biko half, Zelensky Reiner with Ariel, Violate, Sonnen, Marcheno, Nesov and Sarika, your final point scorer. The rest of the drivers do not score points. Fluke, Keita was stuck back. Bakker with Dambitz and Benneker, or what could have been for him. Salva Talens and Kevin Nielsen did not finish, but Arjuna is going to be standing by with our race winner from the sprint race.
Zach Campbell, half the job is done. Still got 20 laps to go, though. How are you feeling with the pole position and sprint race win in the bag?
Feels pretty good. I think that's my first pole in about 2 years. I was talking to Diogo last night, and I told him that I was going to get it today. So, over the moon with that. Really happy for the sprint win. But, you know, that obviously means we get sent back for the feature. So, we'll see. It's super tough to pass here. So, we'll see how this kind of goes. We got a decent amount of points for the day. So, yeah, we'll just do our best.
How can you move forward here from 8th position? We didn't see many moves at the front, and you all managed to survive on lap number 1. So, what's the game plan?
Your guess is as good as mine. I'm just going to try and survive. And if we come out in 8th place out of the hairpin, then we'll kind of see how it shakes out and if we can do anything. I think it'll be super tough. So we'll find out.
Important to get the car off the line, I'm sure. Zach Campbell, congratulations on race win number 2 on the season. And hopefully we'll chat with you in a little bit of time.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very happy to win it. Jeremy Boudaloup's home track. I know it's one of his favorites, so big shout out to him for giving me his French powers.
French powers guiding Zach Campbell to 1 win tonight. I'm sure now he'll try and channel Imperial units to try and grab the feature race win as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeremy Bootloop, I think, retired a year too soon from this series to not be able to race here. But yeah, certainly a good performance from Zach to go lights to flag with that race win under some pressure. Don't forget, though, from Cooper Webster, so it'll be interesting to see how those two get on with that grid inversion, Arjuna. But there was a bit of carnage as well in that race. Not exactly what we want to see, but unfortunately it is what it is.
It's one of those corners, the Adelaide hairpin, right, where it starts out wide and it funnels on in, and then it's a very, very tight radius corner. So lap number 1, 3 wide, not necessarily the wisest idea, but with drivers knowing that passing opportunities were going to be few and far aplenty, they had to go for it. Didn't see exactly which of the Stormforce ART cars pushed one of the Apex Racing Team sister cars into the rest of the palaver, but yeah, a couple of cars I think is going to be pretty frustrated after that one.
Yeah, certainly with that tight pack racing, it really does mean that one little mistake can cause such significant consequences out there. It just takes the tiniest of errors when they're all this close together. Charlie Collins will be starting our main race on pole position. He must be delighted with that, given how difficult it is to overtake, as Zach said.
Yeah, but I think Zach Campbell's not going to be too disappointed, right? The sprint race victory as well as the 10 points in qualifying for pole position. They've given him 35 points already in the bag. Even if we're going to see something spectacular from Collins and he runs away at the front, he's not going to build that much of a championship lead. But let's look back at the sprint race highlights.
Yeah, let's do indeed. It was a good launch then from Zach Campbell off the front of the grid as the cars went tearing through, and Max Beneke ended up in the gravel trap. Marina Sarika also had incidents, and then we saw this down into the Adelaide hairpin. A little bit of chaos and carnage, and Stormforce car locked up into the back, and well, it was actually, I think it was Sanchez potentially who made that contact. Further action on through the field as there went Salva Talens getting spun around at the chicane.
Yeah, then we saw a little bit of dicing back through the pack. Alessandro Bico, podium last time out. He was squabbling with Johan Harth, who was really, I think, just mired back in all of that action and then had to compromise down his way through the hairpin and slot himself back into line. And then, of course, there was this moment. Marcheno trying to find a hole that was never there. He pushes the Fire Simsport car all the way into Luca Kita's path. And, well, say goodbye to that Christopher Dambeach-driven machine.
Yes, that race up at the front was intense. It was pretty close between them, but they weren't able to switch positions. Bobby Zelensky as well was having some action as well. More racing. This is how Sanchez made it past Bryn Collins then down at the hairpin at 180. but it was through the final chicane. Zach Campbell took the checkered flag and saw a race win here in the sprint race of round number 2 of the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup here today. And well, it's good to see Jeremy Bootloop is joining us on the broadcast, watching along. But here is your grid then. It's Charlie Collins and Thomas Tettel at front row of the grid with John Caruso and Oscar Mangan. Again, 2 Alters eSports for row number 2 this time. Sebastian Job and Pinto, row number 3. Cooper Webster and Zach Campbell race win at row number 4. Then the rest as they finished. Sanchez, Collins, Pico and Half. And some of your notable ones then. Gustavo Ariel then on row number 8. Sonnen on row number 9. Jamie Fluke getting involved in instance. He's down on row number 11. Matthias Stuckbeck down on row number 12. And what a place to be starting from. Row 14 for Max Benecke. Well, we've just got about a minute before the start of the main race here. And Arjuna, we've been saying it all along, it's difficult to overtake here. It's really important for those on the front row to get a good launch.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Charlie Collins, alongside with Tumas Tatala, one running well in the championship, one has already had major issues over in round number 1, not even surviving the opening lap. Don't forget as well, plenty of information around schedule standings and everything to do with this Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup. Head on over to iRacing.com/PESC to learn more.
Absolutely, and of course, if you do want to sign up as well, go to iRacing.com. All new memberships are 40% off, so do go and check that out if you are interested in joining us here on iRacing. We would love to have you along, and who knows, you could eventually end up, if you work hard and you have your vitamins and say your prayers, you could end up in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup. But the drivers now are all on the grid. They will look towards that starter's gantry and get themselves ready for 20 laps of action here in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup. Those drivers now looking to the gantry. Raves rise. Green flag, and we're away for the main race here in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup at Magny-Cours. It's a good start from Charlie Collins and Thomas Tetteler. The two, this car's off. That's Biko. Biko's off at turn number 1. It's happened immediately. And well, car off in the gravel, but we stay keeping going forward. It is Collins from Tetteler, Caruso and Mangan together. Job, Pinto, the rest of the cars charging through the shot there, and Job is looking to make some moves here in the early going as we head into the hairpin for the first time. This car's sideways, this car's squirreling, there's tyre smoke, there's Johan Harth around, there's Oscar Reines around as well. We've got cars up and over in the background of shots. It's absolute carnage here on lap number 1.
It all started when I think Sebastian Job gave a bit of a shot to Jordan Caruso. It really checked the pack up, and from there, chaos, well, it ensued. Charlie Collins still leads at the front of the field with Tumas Tatala in tow. Then some separation back to Joe Pinto, Caruso, Mangan, Campbell, and Webster. But my word, Skittles in round number 1, crush Skittles in race number 2 here today.
Yeah, you're certainly not tasting the rainbow here today. It is certainly not one that you want to be taking a bite of, but these two at the front, if they're clever, if they're smart about it, as Zelensky and Collins are dropping down the order on our timing tower on the left-hand side. This carnage happened all the way through this race. This is just dodgems out there through the final chicane. Here's a replay of what happened at the hairpin.
So just watch as Job goes aggressive. There goes a Caruso a little bit wide. And then, as a result, the Kawanda cars make contact. Harth goes around, and then up and over went Urano, R8G as well. I think Violate is the one that flips and then lands on all 4 wheels. I guess add 1 to the flip counter here.
Zach Campbell is in the pits. He was involved in all of that. So Zach Campbell is in the pits and is going to be out of this race, along with Alessandro Biko, Quentin Violate, and Alexei Nesov as well. There you see those cars on pit road. It's from joy to pain in just a few minutes for Zach Campbell. That is not how he wants his championship to go.
It's the duality of the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup. The jubilation of victory, the dejection of being involved in an early incident, and Zach Campbell now will watch on and hope for his teammate Charlie Collins that at least Coanda can grab a double victory here at Magny-Cours.
As we carry on through that corner then, and Arjuna, you've got the race winner from the sprint race, Zach Campbell.
Yeah, unfortunately, Zach, talking to us a bit earlier than I'm sure you want to. Just talk us through what happened from your perspective.
Yeah, that's just Johan Harth using his practice and other simulators to very much be really good and practice a lot for this. So, you know, you love to see when people who are going to miss rounds later in the season affect the championship like this. So that's all I have to say. It's not appropriate, but it's about what needs to be said. So, you know.
Frustration from you, Zach, but we can understand it. We'll let you go, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time from the streets of Long Beach.
Yep, thank you.
Frustration evident there, Paul, for Zach Campbell. And, well, it's not going to get much easier at Long Beach, that's for sure.
No, it's certainly not. And, yeah, you've nowhere to hide at Long Beach as well, have you? You've got concrete walls lining that circuit. So, yeah, we've had a few little bits of sort of stories to tell from the first two rounds of the championship. And, well, certainly the stories do build up here, and well, right now at the front the story is that Charlie Collins does lead by 0.3 of a second from Thomas Tetteler, but Sebastian Job has pulled back that gap that they've been able to make through that sequence of corners. So this is lap number 3. Job is bringing Pinto along with him, and once again Pinto is just loitering around that top 4 position. He is doing what he needs to do well in this championship.
Thomas Tatteler, by the way, on course for what would be a second podium in a feature race over the course of his Porsche eSports Supercup career. Someone that, like I said, round 1, he didn't even get out of turn 3 before he was off and into the weeds. The second part of the evening didn't go much better for him. Someone who also didn't enjoy our trip over to the Hockenheim ring was this man, Sam Koitip, someone who we talked to and was equally frustrated compared to Zach Campbell. If I'm Sam in that Urano number 28 car, though, I'm not just looking forwards, I'm looking backwards, because there's a certain Mouse car that's lurking in those rear view mirrors as Beneke tries to continue to work his way back up to potentially grab some points in the top 15.
Yeah, we're going to see some red-on-red action between the two of them. Kaita, of course, in that red and black Urano car. Max Beneke in the red and white Mouse car. Through turns 1 and 2, onto the brakes for 3. We've got cars making moves in front as well of us. So Sam Kaita with a great view of what's happening in front. Big moves in this field. Kevin Nielsen started this race right at the back of the field, is up 15 places to 14th in this race. Absolutely just taking advantage of all the shenanigans that happened at the start. And there's the move. There's Max Beneke alongside. Can he get the move finished? Well, we'll have to wait and see, but you can see on that timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen, Kaita is still ahead for the time being.
And for the time being, Beneke trying that late lunge and surprising the Urano eSports driver further forwards. The Welshman trying to build up a bit of an advantage. Tatteler maybe making a small mistake, has allowed the gap to open up by a car length or 2 extra, and Job will be chomping at the bit, I think, to try and work his way forward. He really needs to try and get some points on the board, especially if Collins can continue this level of consistency along with someone like Diogo Pinto. Remember, Job in that second race put himself in a rather precarious spot on the outside of the arena section in the final sector of the Hockenheim ring. Unfortunately, 3 wide didn't work. He was the one that got the worst of it. He finds himself 12th in points, almost 51 points behind the championship leader, Paul, in a championship that will be over before it's even started.
Yeah, absolutely. We still look at this race, by the way, for 17th. Beneke is in 17th place right now. He's got a charge, 10 places gained for him in this race. He's got Julian Sonnen behind in front. He's actually lost a bit of time to Sam Kaita in front, so Beneke is having to look in his mirrors right now, but he's got a whole queue of cars behind him. Sonnen back, Dambit, Bryn Collins, who's having to make a recovery, so too Bobby Zelensky. There's a move to the inside, and Sonnen's got to be careful here. because Lasse back, not able to make the move. So Max Beneke, who we're on board with right now, well, he's holding on to that place, and that move has just allowed him to get a little bit of breathing space there.
Yeah, have you heard that back is back? He had pretty solid round one. Both races inside of the top 8, actually started the main race from the inverted pole position. Unfortunately, slipped backwards to 7th by the end of the evening. And overall, I think Fire Simsport were the breakout team of the 2022 Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup Contender Series. We really saw both him and Kevin Nielsen really show their strength at adapting to a car while having to race configurations of circuits that weren't always traditional, Paul. I mean, you joined me for part of the Porsche qualifying series, the first step of the road to the World Championship. And out of 6 races, the only regular round that we had was the full layout of Imola. We did weird things and wonderful things like going to Watkins Glen Oval, a half of the Hockenheim Ring, and really challenging these drivers to take layouts in that they never really used before.
Yeah, they certainly do. The word challenged, and given the different runs that they're not used to here. Now at the front, Thomas Tettel has just dropped back a little bit from Charlie Collins here, and he could come under a little bit of pressure from Sebastian Job behind. So Job, he'll be keen to move forward on the podium places because he'll be wanting to get as many points as possible here. Will Sebastian in that Oracle Red Bull Racing eSports car. But Thomas Tetteler working his way through and certainly doing a good job in that heroic outfit car as they come out of that corner onto the power once again. And Arjuna, you've unfortunately having to speak to another driver missing from this race.
Yeah, Quintin Violate went up and over, unfortunately. Quintin, I mean, talk us through it from your perspective.
Oh, hello everyone. Yeah, to be honest, I'm really devastated about it. I was feeling I had a really good race pace, so I probably could have just gained some position through the race, but the first hairpin of the race took me out, so it's unfortunate, but yeah, still at front in the championship, so we can get some points from there.
It's a long way to go, but I think it's fair to say for you, Quintin, you'll be a little bit frustrated with how both the opening rounds of the championship have gone so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm struggling to find time to practice and find just some quality pace. Our race pace is kinda good through those 2 first runs, so we have to work hard on our quality pace, and we should be good, I guess. But yeah, that's really frustrating to just not be able to finish the burst race of the round every round.
We'll let you go off, and we'll see you and your teammate Julian Sonnen in a couple of weeks from Long Beach.
Right. Bye, guys.
Great to have a quick chat there with Quintin Violate as he sums up what I think will be quite a disappointing home race for him this season.
Yeah, and I think back to last season, how he had such a great opening round to the championship. Did Quentin last time out, and then last year, should I say, and then just things seem to happen to him, and he seemed to have a trouble magnet attached to his car for the rest of the season. And it seems that they've not been able to get the weight saving done and get that magnet removed from his car so far. But you never know, Long Beach can give us some opportunities, and you never say never in a championship like this, but it does put him in a more difficult position, that is for sure, as we look at Moreno Sarica and Jamie Fluke. All both racing for 9th and 10th places, Fluke up 11 places, as is Sarica as well, so not the best sprint race for either of them, but those two now looking good in this main race.
Yeah, and I want to just re-emphasize one thing to remember. Motorsports is cruel, right? Because you show up every weekend and 30 teams will compete, or 30 drivers will compete, only one can actually win. It's the same way at the end of the championship. Only one driver can have the success of victory. So when everyone else is setting their goals, no matter where you are in the season, it can't always be, I want to be number one. Sometimes all you can do is focus like you sometimes need to, on the battle to stay inside of the top 15 just to secure a license to go straight back to the Super Cup next year, because we know, Paul, just how difficult it is to fight your way back through the proving grounds.
Yeah, it's so difficult. As there you see those live points as things stand as well, because Charlie Collins now 6-point lead over Diogo Pinto in terms of the live standings as we go. But let's just give you a little bit of the sights and sounds of this race and go on board for a little bit of full throttle action from Buzz. You are watching round number 2 of the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup main race here. And, well, we are seeing some tremendous action out there. Paul Smith and Arjuna Kankapati in the commentary booth here. And it is Charlie Collins who currently leads this race by 1.7 seconds at the halfway point of this main race. Tettela, though, in second place, is under pressure from Sebastian Job behind him, and Job is under some intense pressure from last season's champion, Diogo Pinto. The two champions that remain on the grid here in the series are neck and neck in third and fourth place.
Yeah, the thing is that Tettela is doing just well enough through the sections that he needs to be able to hold on and defend, so that Job is unable to really find a way on through, and he's got to be careful because trying to set up a move might compromise him and allow Pinto the opportunity to cycle through and grab that final spot on the podium. So very much at a lockstep right now, and you can see behind Caruso Mangan doing a great job to just hold on. We saw Cooper Webster being incredibly quick and patient in the sprint race. Not so much so far, but as we check in triple box, we're looking at all the major battles out on track.
Yeah, we've got that second place fight up there, up on the main screen, and then the race for 11th, race for 21st on screen as well. We go triple box here on the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup coverage, and well, these drivers are certainly putting on a display of driving at this point. A little bit of a mistake for 11th place, and well, that is going to be Ariel, Gustavo Ariel, going to be duking it out for 11th, but no, not able to get past the Urano car of Luca Kita, I think that is, up there in 12th place.
Yeah, no, Little mistake there, and they've dropped off the back of Marchena, who's trying to now close on Jamie Fluke up there in the 10th position. Another little moment there for Tatala, not getting the best drive out of the Adelaide hairpin, but still frustration as Ariel completely blows the braking zone into the hairpin and finds himself now dropping down to 17th spot. Heads up driving from the rest of those in that fight for 12 to see it coming, give him the room and let him go off into the gravel.
Ariel goes from 13th to 17th in one corner with that one mistake then. So, yeah, we're keeping you abreast of all the action in this this race. We've changed that bottom right to that race for 18th. Matthias Stuckbeck with Bryn Collins, the recovering Bryn Collins. Lassie Back is behind him with Bobby Zelensky, Christopher Dambitz and Oskari Ryan. It's worth pointing out as well, Zach Campbell did actually come back out on track, and he is going around in a lonely 27th place, but well, he's just hoping for other cars to go out of this race and maybe squeak himself a point down to 25th.
Yeah, he's one lap down, and so, like you say, we'd have had a quick chat with maybe Philip Stamm, the Coanda team boss, to just say, okay, calm your nerves, let's go out and let's try and salvage what we can. You're not totally out of the points. We looked at those live points not long ago and saw that Campbell was still inside of the top 10. So far, looking so good for Coanda as they continue to watch. As Bryn Collins, though, as he tries to now fight his way back forward, experiences some dirty air from Stoke back in front of him, and Lasse back in 20th, tries to work very nicely off the power and just rolls his momentum through the corner.
Yeah, he certainly does. Matthias Stuckback then, he does go through then and holds on to that place, but we've got a change for second place then. Sebastian Job has finally been able to get past Thomas Tetela. Oh, and Thomas is going to come under pressure now from Diogo Pinto, and it could go from bad to worse for Thomas, because here comes the Altus eSport drivers as well, of Caruso and Mangan. So in just over half a lap, it's gone from second to fourth place for Thomas Tetela, and the heroic driver, well, he needs a heroic performance to try and get back through, but here's the overtake in the bottom right-hand corner.
Remember, we've done 10 laps now, so we've gone the entirety of the sprint race distance, and we're still running on these set of tires. Tatala really looking like the anchor in the second pack, and Job down the inside finally got the opportunity and wasn't going to let it go by. Slides his way on through and now tries to work on what is a 3.5 second advantage up to Charlie Collins. Pinto's going to be thrilled that he was able to take advantage through the 180. Tatala was able to get back in front of Caruso, albeit momentarily. We'll see if now the Altus teammates can work together and work both their cars up into the top 5 here today.
They'll certainly be happy with the performance of the two Altus drivers here in that top 8, in the top 6 even, as Sebastian Job then, you can see him behind the wheel of the car, bottom left. Diogo Pinto giving us his view, looking at him in the bottom right. This is the race for second place between two former champions. Your current champion is Pinto on the right, and former champion Job in 2020 on the left. So these two know what it takes to be a winner in this championship, and Pinto is going for something that we've not seen in this series, which is a back-to-back winner in the championship. Meanwhile, Tetela loses another place, this time to Jordan Caruso.
And now we'll see if Oscar Mangan can follow his way on through and potentially slide his way back up in towards the top 5 once again. It'll be a really nice bounce back from the Irishman. Tatala slide back though continuing. Another one of our drivers that had limited preparation, don't forget, for this event. And while he was struggling, notes who has managed to latch back onto the tail end of the group. It's Cooper Webster, yes, with some damage to the front end of his car, but as they work towards the final sector with 7 laps to go after we cross the line once again, Thomas Tatala's dropped through the field, may not be done and dusted just yet.
Yeah, Caruso, of course, his first ever pole position last time out at Hockenheim. Got himself a just one sprint podium to his name as well. He wants to improve on that, does Jordan, and he's looking forward towards Pinto. He's not looking behind. He's trying to move forward. And Tetela, the question is, has Tetela maybe just used up his tyres a bit more than the others around him by defending in the early stages in the first half of this race, and that's coming back to bite him here in the second half of the race, Arjuna. As there's a move,
Ooh.
Cooper Webster down the inside, decisive if I get my teeth back in, and well, Mangan had to give that one up.
A bit of an elbow there that allows Webster to slide his way on through, but all's fair in that little tussle. I don't think Magnan will have too many complaints about that. In terms of, championship momentum, let's just point out that Collins, Pinto, Caruso have all been consistent so far in staying up towards the very tip top of the championship. We'll keep harping back on 2022 and the fact that Diogo Pinto didn't win a race until late in the season. What let him be in the championship fight was that level of consistency in a series like we've just seen with Zach Campbell in this particular main race can be brutal at the best of times.
As the drivers force themselves through around this track. Track temperature is just around 39 degrees Celsius once again, so quite warm out there for the drivers, and there will have to be an element of tyre conservation just to not put too much heat through those tyres. Here you see this race for 12th place is still ongoing. Luca Kita at the head of that one. Sam Keita, Kevin Nielsen, Max Benecke, and also Julian Sonin is at the back of this queue of cars. And Benecke has just not been able to move forward much more. He's gained 12 places in this race. Nielsen still has gained 15 in this race.
Yeah, sometimes it's best to just sit back and let it come to you, especially at a track where it can be notoriously difficult to work your way past. We really have only seen moves in a couple of places, and this main race, in stark contrast to the sprint, a lot less action overall, and especially up at the front, a big margin. Charlie Collins has done a stellar job of just managing the wear on his tires to continue now to actually build an advantage over Job, over Pinto, over Caruso as they try and chase him down. All those three cars have now built up more separation to Tattler, who continues to struggle with the tires, in stark contrast to this ice-cold Welshman at the front.
So they've got one main race win to his name as Charlie, and well, you can see that. So we'll get to see how things are as they go across the line. But yeah, Collins is really pushing on and getting the lap times in. I mean, a 39.4. He's been consistently in the low 39s. Here's the start line or finish line cam. You can see just how far back Job, Pinto, and Caruso all are there. To head on through turns 1, 2, and 3. So Collins at the front. 3.9 seconds, another 0.2 of a second gained by Collins over Sebastian Job on that last lap alone. He seems to be comfortable, whereas Job is feeling the pressure from behind now. He's got Pinto and Caruso. Caruso showing a great turn of pace this season.
Yeah, Pinto, though, don't think we're going to expect him to go overly aggressive. Don't forget that now, with a handful of drivers leaving Team Redline, Diogo Pinto has considerably less in the terms of team help week in, week out, not just to prepare and build setups, but also to go racing and get tests for racecraft. And so that's meant that Redline has partnered up with the Williams eSports team, but also in addition with Gustavo Ariel. So they have basically a 5 or 6 car alliance that allows them to work together. Pinto, despite the fact that he's lost Benecke and a handful of other teammates, still has plenty to fall back on in terms of resources.
Speaking of Max, here he is, still stuck in 15th place, behind Kevin Nielsen, who himself is behind Sam Keita. So, yeah, it's showing just the difficulty for these drivers to make those moves. And, well, with 5 laps to go, 4 laps to go at the line, time is starting to run out for some of these drivers. And if you're Max Benecke wanting to do a championship run, well, it's not been the best start of championships for him in these opening 2 rounds. He needs to try and move forward and try and get himself as many points as possible here today. And look at how uncomfortable that is over that chicane.
Yeah, I think for Max in particular, the last few years have just been rough in this particular championship. He still had plenty of success elsewhere in sim racing, of course, most recently just a week ago. But something about this championship has just started to play boogeyman almost with him. And I think if he gets a qualifying session that plays out nicely, I think it will help him a lot. But of course, still in that fight with Kevin Nielsen with 4 laps to go. I think it's going to get fun at the front as well for second. I think Job and Pinto, given the margin between them and Caruso really slotting in behind, I think Pinto is going to have to look at trying to get a move, because I don't think Caruso will be content to settle for 4th.
I think Caruso's best act is, well, to try and to put the pressure on Pinto to force him to make a move on Sebastian Job and to try and force the error. But that's going to be extremely difficult when you've got 2 extremely experienced drivers in this championship in front of you. But Caruso, with the pace that he's shown, as I said, his pole position last time out was his first ever pole position at Hockenheim. He's got some pace this season. He seems to really adapted himself to the car this season, and he's showing this Altus eSports team well behind Tetela, making a little mistake I saw in the background, a shot, but able to hold on to position for the time being for 5th place.
It's not a great spot to really capitalize on the mistake. Straight after that right-hand 90 degree, you're into the chicane, the final section that leads you to the line, and so Webster Smart backs out of it, but I think now concedes any chance of being able to latch back on to 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and now we'll have to settle at potentially a top 5 being the best that he can accomplish. Oscar Mangan, Alejandro Sanchez in that one as well, and I do think that Alejandro Sanchez, embroiled in the incident at the hairpin earlier on, is going to have something to try and, well, atone with the stewards maybe later on after the event is sorted. And Mangan continues, though, to ride in 7th spot.
Yeah, he's on the coattails of Cooper Webster in front, and he's trying to move forward in all of this. If you are just joining us, well, Charlie Collins started on pole position in this main race. He had Thomas Tetela in 2nd place for quite a while, and Tetela was really holding back Sebastian Job, Diogo Pinto and the rest, and that allowed Collins to just move away at the front of the field. That's why, I mean, Collins has been outpacing these drivers still at this point. I mean, his last lap was a 39.3 compared to the 40 flat from Job the last lap. So that tells you how much Job is having to get a bit defensive here on Pinto.
Yeah, it is remarkable, but curiously, Collins actually not fastest in terms of outright speed. Some of the other drivers still have stuff that's comparable. It's just unfortunately they don't have the consistency. There was a bit of an incident further back down the field, though, as we get ready to head into these closing laps. I see Lasse Backbring, Collins, and Gustavo Ariel all involved. That was the fights, one of those fights that we were tracking a bit earlier, Paul, and it's definitely still been feisty here in this main race, even if at the front it's been a little bit more settled down.
Yeah, you can see on that timing tower on the left-hand side, Sam Keitert dropping down the order, and I can tell you that he's gone to pit road along with Bryn Collins. So goes from bad to worse for Bryn after his best result in the series in 9th place in the sprint race, having to go to the pit lane and serve either a penalty or some sort of repairs going on for him. But we'll keep an eye on this race for 2nd place. It's still Job in front of Pinto, in front of Caruso. Cooper Webster hasn't been able to catch up to these guys, but he has been able to get ahead of Thomas Tetela.
Yeah, that happened at the hairpin. We just saw it at the very outset of the shot. Was able to get to the inside into the braking zone, and Tatalo not having the grip, it looks like, to be able to fight that one back. Pinto's running out of time if he wants to try and work his way forward, but outside of the hairpin where he's gotten close on a few occasions, there haven't really been any opportunities. Job, outside of the slowdown that we saw from him in the sprint race earlier today, has been pretty impressive and consistent despite his self-admitted lack of race feel and race pace. But 1 lap to go. It's coming down to this final lap at Magny-Cours.
Yeah, so through the final chicane they go for the penultimate time. They start the last lap, and it is Pinto and Job that are duking it out. Pinto's looking for a mistake. I don't think he'll do anything rash here. In the early stages of a championship, it's all about getting yourself some good points, and Pinto is on a tremendous haul of points in this round of the championship. It's only the 2nd week of the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup in 2023, and and that means that Pinto and Job, whilst they will battle it out, and Job's feeling the need to go defensive. Pinto late to the inside into the hairpin. There's contact between the two of them, and here comes Caruso to take advantage into a podium place. Just like that, Jordan Caruso, he's saying forget about third, I want second place here. Absolutely sensational through the Nürburgring chicane for the final time into 180. Caruso's looking, Job will be ruining that.
I think Pinto knew that this is going to be such a close championship. You have got to take every opportunity you can. And Caruso saw the move, saw the contact, and was smiling as he followed through to another podium position here as we wind to the end of our first race at Magny-Cours.
But out at the front, it is Charlie Collins. He's got a 6-second lead. He has been dominant here in this main race. Just a couple of corners to go for him. And the VRS Coanda Simsport driver who races from Wales, he's the winner here in the main race at Magny-Cours. Across the finish line for the last time, and it's going to be Pinto who does hold on to second place, Caruso in third, Job won't be happy in fourth place, rest of them coming through. Beneke has been able to get himself up to 12th place, and just looking down the order, Jamie Fluke fell down the order on that last lap, so something happened to him on the last lap here, but my goodness, what an exciting end to that motor race right there in the Buzz post-race show.
Yeah, Simone Maria Marcheno and Jamie Fluke came together, so for Marcheno, not the first bit of contact, and would you guess what, Paul? Deja vu, it happened through the very same sequence of corners as it did in the sprint race.
Well, it is Charlie Collins who is your race winner then by 6.6 seconds over Diogo Pinto in second. Caruso in third ahead of Sebastian Job and his teammate Cooper Webster in fifth. Thomas Tetela sixth ahead of Oscar Mangum with Alejandro Sanchez, Marina Sarica and Luca Kita rounding out your top 10. Julian Sonnen able to stay ahead of Max Beneke with Kevin Nielsen, Matthias Stuckbeck, Simone Maria Marcheno 15th in the end ahead of Bobby Zelensky with Christopher Dambit ahead of Lasse Bach, Oskari Ryan and Jamie Fluke in 20th place. Sam Keiter, Gustavo Ariel, Johan Half having a recovery drive in that one along with Salva Talens. Alessandro Bico was in the gravel at turn 1, lap 1. He finishes 25th, and the drivers outside of the point, Zach Campbell, Bryn Collins, Quentin Violate and Alexei Nesov. Wow, let's take a breath for all of that. And, well, let's have a word with your race winner, Arjuna.
Yeah, let's start by talking with Charlie Collins about qualifying, and qualifying as the very final car, and qualifying in 8th. Talk us through the lap.
There's not much to talk about. It was pretty bad, I can't lie. I just didn't hook up at all, and I just, after that I was pretty flustered. So I'm very happy to have a good feature to kind of round it off.
You say bad lap, it was what, a 10th off your teammate Zach Campbell in qualifying, so it could have been worse. In terms, though, of what we saw in the second race, let's start with the reverse pole. What were you seeing in the rearview mirrors? Because it was pretty dramatic, I can tell you that.
Yeah, so I saw some carnage on lap 1. I didn't catch it. But yeah, I was just kind of like controlling the race in terms of myself. I was trying to keep myself calm and drive my own race, and it worked out very well.
So none of the drivers knew where we were going racing in 2 weeks until earlier today. It's now announced. It's Long Beach. What do you think we're in for?
Carnage. No, but I think it's going to be exciting. Look, Long Beach is a pretty cool track, and I don't think a big series has been there in a while. So I'm pretty excited, to be honest. I think it's a very cool track.
Well, you are Mr. Consistent right now. We'll congratulate you on another victory, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time from the streets of Long Beach. We'll head on over to the second step of the podium, though, where our defending champion, Diogo Pinto, was willing to make the move on the final lap, it turned out. Diogo, talk us through what happened here today at Magny-Cours from your perspective.
Well, to start off the event, I had some issues with my direct drive. I was not even sure I was able to race, so I was really happy how the qualifying and sprint race went. Yeah, and then in the main race, I just got lucky. I went where there was space at the start, and then from there, me and Sebi we had to overtake Tatela, and then at the end, my tires looked way better, so I felt like it has to be now. I have to make a move. I was behind all race, so the time was now, and I sent it. It was quite a forced move, but I mean, I went on the apex, I touched the curb. So I guess that's just hard racing. I'm happy with the result.
Yeah, and I think this is a round that a lot of you guys would have been happy to get onto the other side of, but I was just talking about Charlie, about Long Beach. That's where we're going in 2 weeks' time. What do you have to think about a street race and a race where we've just had a race where it's hard to pass? That's likely going to be impossible to pass.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be really precise in your moves and time them perfectly. So I think Long Beach is probably going to be even worse because you have walls around you. So a little mistake can cost you big points. But let's see. With the current damage model, we can fight quite hard in these cars, so which is what you expect in a Porsche Cup. So let's see. Hopefully, we have some good racing like we had today, and we put on a good show.
Another solid weekend for Diogo Pinto as he looks to try and defend his championship. We'll step down then to the third step of the podium. Jordan Caruso joins us. Jordan, I mean, another great weekend for you, and interestingly, all of Altus really, as Oscar Mangan shows his pace now as well with some consecutive top 8 finishes. How are you feeling as a unit with 2 rounds now in the books?
Yeah, I mean, we're feeling pretty good. We've been working really hard just to sort of stay on top of it. Really proud of Oscar. I mean, he's been working hard in practice, so it's great to see him sort of get the result that he deserves. Yeah.
In your perspective at this track, qualifying was going to be so important. How much did you guys struggle trying to get the laps together with the pressure on with one-shot qualifying?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult even in practice. Like, I feel like 1 minute I'm rapid, the next minute I'm 4/10 off, and I don't know what I'm doing. So, but like the lap that I did, I was pretty happy with. I lost about a 10th here or there, but like just a solid lap. That's all I wanted, to be in the top 8, and yeah, stoked to get a podium in the end.
Well, it worked out quite nicely for you and the team. Congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks' time.
Thanks, guys.
So round down through our top 3, Paul, and well, yeah, now all focus on our trip over to the Golden State.
Yeah, absolutely. The famous venue, a historic venue of Long Beach is going to be where these drivers head on over to next time. Make sure you join us for that on March the 4th. That's 2 weeks' time here for the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup. And well, what a dramatic round of racing that we had here from Magny-Cours for the first time here in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Long Beach, but well, these drivers, they do know how to race hard, and they raced very, very close indeed. But until next time, thank you for everybody here, and we'll see you then. Bye now.
Chain swinging, clang clang, and it costs a lot. Them always at the guala, yeah, and you are not.